Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Ryan Dunigan.
I'm Cisco Garcia.
Prodigal Son returns.
And what we're going to do today is something a little different once again. We're going to do a top 5 or top 10 countdown of our favorite games of all time.
It's been a while since we did a retrospect, you know?
Yeah, this is sort of be like our retrospect ones that we haven't done for
Been a while since I've been on this
about
podcast.
50 podcasts since the rest
We
of
got a
it.
couple emails wanting it back. So.
Oh well, I'm glad I'm back.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So, what we're going to do is we made a one rule thing that you can't pick 2 of the same game in a series or multiple ones. So you can't have a bunch of Final Fantasies or Marios or something like that would just fill up your entire list.
Trust me, it was hard. It was very hard not to do that.
So what we'll do at the very end is we'll have a little bit of like an honorable mention for like those games. It's like, well, I really like this one, but I can only pick one, so on. But I thought that would give us more diversity.
Yeah.
If anything, I think that's the key thing.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to do is do like a roundabout table thing here, and we'll just go from 10 on up.
Well, let's just say this. Let's make sure we don't say our favorite one till the last.
Well, yeah, so
say
we'll
that.
go like 10, 10, 10.
Gotcha.
9,
Gotcha,
9,
yeah.
9,
Yeah.
so on.
Okay.
And how about we start for you, Cisco?
Okay, I'm going to start with a game that I have to throw in there, mostly for nostalgia, mostly because it was my first video game that I ever owned. And I love this game very much, and I had to say Donkey Kong Country.
Oh, that's a fantastic one.
That's my number 10. That game is incredible. I got it when I was 6 years old. I got a Super Nintendo for Christmas, and I beat it when my sister's boyfriend came over and played it with me. It was really fun. And I don't know, I just love that game. They're all good. All the Donkey Kong Countries are good, 2 and 3. I'm sure all 3 of them are in my top 50 at least.
Oh, by far, yeah. All 3 of that's like... So I'd probably say if you had to make a list of top 10 Super Nintendo games, no rules whatsoever,
Yeah.
I bet you all 3 of them would almost be in the top 10.
Yeah, probably.
They're that good.
I ain't looking to shit on anybody's parade here, but I played 1 and 2 and liked them. The thing about the Donkey Kong series, though, it seems like it got weird as it went on because it was called Donkey Kong,
Yeah.
but they slowly expunged Donkey Kong
They sort of
and Diddy
phased them
Kong.
out, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, I guess you're saving Donkey Kong. And it's like, unless you're playing as Diddy, then it's like, oh, Diddy's not even in the third one. You got
You got Dixie.
you got Dixie, and then you got like
Kitty.
Kong.
Special Ed Kong or whatever. You know?
Fat Kong.
That's about the one thing, even though Donkey Kong Country 3 is actually really fucking awesome.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
It's just as good, I think, as the first 2, actually.
Yeah.
But it does have that one thing where you're like, Kitty could just be Donkey.
Yeah, you could just...
He's the same, like, build, pretty much. He does the exact same actions.
It could be like the Odd Couple, Diddy. I mean, not Diddy. Dixie and Donkey.
Yeah,
mix
it's
it up
like-
a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but at least I guess Donkey Kong has kind of returned in his last games.
Yeah.
But it is kind of weird, though. The games are called Donkey Kong. He's only in the first one.
I know, it is weird, but...
But no, Donkey Kong, that was such a pinnacle game, I remember, as my youth.
Yep.
Yeah, it was my friend Liz. She had that because she had a Super Nintendo and I had a Genesis, and I'd always go up there and play Donkey Kong and whatnot.
Yeah, I love that game.
Didn't Shigeru Miyamoto say "fuck that game" or something? Like
Yeah,
that?
Shigeru Miyamoto was the one who was all like, "That game was made for stupid Americans," even though it's made by English people. But like, for some reason, I think just kind of pissed him off because maybe he just didn't have enough control over it or whatnot.
Possibly, yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't know, like Donkey Kong plays.
It's a great game.
What is it? It's not like it's easier than like Mario World. It's not,
Yeah.
not like Mario World's harder than Donkey Kong. It's like I don't know.
Yeah.
What he was complaining about, but I love that game. That's actually like the great start at Rare.
Yeah.
Because I can't think of too much more they did prior to that game. Can you?
No, honestly.
But that's almost like I'll say they probably did a couple things, but that was like the big start to all those like grand Nintendo Rare games.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, and what's yours?
Mine is Star Wars Rogue Leader.
Oh, that's
okay.
a fucking good choice.
Yeah.
Check out that.
That one, I think because that was one of those.
You're talking about the first, because I always get confused in titles. You're talking about the second one, technically.
The one
the
for
second
GameCube,
one,
right?
the one for GameCube,
Yeah,
the
okay.
second one.
Yeah.
The third one's still a fun game. I think the part where you're running around like as a person instead of a ship, that's a little weird, but still a fun game. But the second one, the first one, when you play the first one, that was already a really fun game. But just playing that is like this is gonna sound really cheesy. But playing that as a kid and playing it on GameCube, it really gave you a real sense of what it felt like to be, I guess, a pilot in Star Wars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well,
It was one of the first games that really kind of gave you that. I mean, I'm sure people would say, for other people, I'm sure they'd say TIE Fighter or X-Wing, but I sucked at games where you had a keyboard. So
Well, those ones, the thing I talk about, because I had like X-Wing, and it's like until I got a joystick, it's like they wanted you to play with the mouse.
Yeah.
It was so fucking difficult to fly that thing.
Yeah.
It's like, why can't I use the keyboard?
yeah.
What was your favorite vehicle, though, if you say in Rogue Leader?
there was actually probably the bonus vehicles that you could unlock.
Yeah.
I remember the Naboo Starfighter was really good.
Wasn't there like
The car?
Wasn't there a car?
Yeah,
There was a car.
The car had all the abilities of every single
Yeah.
like one, I think.
I remember being really excited. Well, this goes back to the first one. I remember being so excited to play the Y-Wing.
Yeah.
It took forever to play the Y-Wing, and then you play it like, oh, this thing kind of sucks,
The
actually.
Y-Wing's
I
really
actually
badass
like
in the second one.
I like the Y-Wing actually. I like being able to bomb things.
I guess I just...
Bomb the hell out of it.
The
Yeah.
Millennium Falcon was always really good. You can never go wrong with
Unless it's
that.
the last level.
I like
Yeah,
it,
we were
but
trying-
it was just
that
so
last
clunky,
level,
though. It was just
flying
so-
through
You're going through
the Death Star,
Death Star,
it's so
yeah.
fucking
Yeah,
hard
that
with
was-
Millennium Falcon.
that was-
Not with that one, but yeah, other ones, yeah.
I just remember so many times playing that game and like getting so fucking pissed when like you'd be like, okay, gold medal. Damn it!
Not a gold medal.
Careful, Cisco, it's a
Sorry.
glass table.
That's right. Damn it! A silver table or silver medal. Ah! Like pissed me off so much.
You know what I think made that game really cool, and this is why I think it outbeats all the games prior to it Star Wars wise, is that was the first one where the graphics just looked really realistic.
Yeah.
That was the thing, because the first Rogue Leader, you had N64 graphics. It was
Yeah.
still really badass, but they were N64. And same with another big one also was Shadows of the Empire, like
Yeah.
the very
Yeah.
the first level. Yeah, that's what the first level when you were like on Hoth, that was a big deal at the time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But Rogue Leader even
It
had
just
like
captured-
clips of the movies.
Yeah, and that was
Yeah.
another thing too, because it's before the DVDs came out.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the best quality you could have of Star Wars, I guess, other than Laserdisc.
Yeah, it's true. All right, Spencer.
That's a good fucking choice. I'm glad you
Thank
put
you.
that on there. I didn't even think about that one.
That's a good choice.
I really was like, I should just open up all my boxes of games and look through them all because I know I'm gonna miss
As
stuff.
soon as you push record, it's like, fuck, Rogue Leader, and I
Yeah.
scribbled another game out, like that was gonna be my honorable mention.
Okay, well, my number 10 is Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes.
Okay, there we go.
That's
yeah,
my favorite. As much I love all the Metal Gear Solids, Twin Snakes is my all-time favorite one.
Yeah.
That one is, that's kind of like the forgotten one, but it is a really damn good game.
Well, a lot of times too, like it's kind of like the Bastard Child too. A lot of people like don't like that one very much, and they always use the same point. It's like, well, the voice acting wasn't nearly as good.
I see you have Animal Crossing. Would you like to play Animal Crossing?
And it's like I will say that like the voice acting, there's a couple characters, and it's not that it's bad. It's just they changed actors.
Yeah.
Mei Ling was
Yeah,
one of
Mei
them.
Ling, I think that's the one that you kind of lose the charm of like her like Snake,
Yeah.
like her like Chinese accent, and then she just kind of has this American one going. But I'm just like, who cares? It's like it's the first, it's the first Metal Gear Solid story, but it plays like number 2 because that was like the number one selling point of number 2.
Yeah.
Because even when I went to go replay number 2, it's like that one's a good one, but it's kind of my least favorite one.
Story-wise, at least.
Well,
Yeah.
story and just I think more than story though, it's the look of the game. Because kind of like when you're on the tanker, or not the tanker, but the
Big Shell.
the big shell, it's like everything looks the fucking same.
Yeah.
It's not very like unique looking. Where I love in Metal Gear Solid 1 because it's like not only are you in the water at first, and then you're in the snow, and then you're inside the complex, and then you're inside the Metal Gear room, and there's all this kind of change going on. And then you also go into other places too.
Yeah.
I think number 2, it's one of those things, I'm on your side. I think the game did look kind of the same. But I think it's one of those things, it was still fairly young when it came to PS2 was still fairly young at that time, so I think they're afraid they didn't want to push its capabilities too much.
Yeah.
So they're probably playing it safe. Like, well, let's make it look really good, but you're going to be in a lot of the same type of area.
Well, because those graphics on that game are fucking awesome. They really hold up well. And they're better
Yeah.
than even the Twin Snakes graphics.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just something about that. It's just the big shell's look. I think that's one thing. It's just everything's yellow, everything's brown.
Yeah.
There's water outside, and that's about the biggest change in color. Don't get me wrong, it's an awesome game, but Twin Snakes I think is the crowning achievement.
One thing
Very
I liked-
damn close though is Metal Gear Solid 3. But
Yeah. I really liked in Twin Snakes how you could also go into first-person view if you'd like to.
yeah, because like well, the thing about the PlayStation one is like you had the first-person view, but you couldn't aim at it.
Yeah.
So that makes a big difference. Really, like other than the graphics, that's like the really main difference between Twin Snakes and the original.
Yeah.
Other than like some of the cutscenes and dialogue.
Yeah. All right.
That's my favorite one. So
Okay.
what's your number 9?
So before I go any further, I want to say this. What do we do when we have an overlap? Are we just gonna say oh, that's my number, that one as well, or are we
Well,
gonna,
we'll just say this. Like, say if like you said like, well, my number 9's Twin Snakes. We'll just be like, we'll just carry on.
we'll just carry on and move on. To
We already
Ryan
kind of
and
talked
Spencer.
about
Okay,
it, so
all right. Okay.
I think that'll just make it easy.
I know it's gonna happen soon, so we'll
Yeah,
start with
it's
number
gonna probably
9.
happen a lot.
Yeah. So my number 9 is definitely I have to put Star Fox 64 in there. Now and Spencer and I were just talking about this before the podcast. You know, some people are saying that game's dated and just not for today's crowd. I say
They can go
fuck that.
suck a dick.
That's the
fuck
thing too.
that game's
I
incredible.
saw that on Twitter, and some guy was trying to like bullshit me into like telling like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
Star Fox is so relevant nowadays.
Yeah.
It was more relevant than it ever was.
Yeah.
You know what? And here's the thing. Put it on a fucking Wii U. Put an actual sequel to Star Fox 64 on there.
Mm-hmm.
It would be perfect. Don't change anything. Just keep it back to like, you're in the ship, and maybe there's, you know, bonus tank missions and bonus, you know, submarines, but keep it all going forward.
Yeah.
Don't make it a free roaming world. Just keep it in that arcade style.
Don't give him a fucking dinosaur sidekick.
No,
No need for
yeah.
that.
And don't put him on the ground either.
No
Just-
Star Fox Adventure shit. No.
Just like
Star
Rogue
Fox 64,
Squadron,
yeah.
you gotta be iffy about putting guys on the ground when you're playing a flying
I'll
game.
say this:
Yeah.
even Assault, when even the ground missions where you're by foot, those worked fine for the most part.
Yeah.
There are just some moments where it was really inconvenient and really annoying. It was a little clunky. I think you
Yeah.
could smooth it out. But if they took that out, I wouldn't mind. I'm playing Star Fox for
The ships,
for the ships, the tank, submarine. You know,
Yeah.
that's what I like.
I agree too, because like
Yeah.
on Star Fox Assault, yeah, it's not that big of a deal to run around, but it's not necessary.
And it's
yeah.
it's the thing like Fox, help me! Like I got a fucking gun. You're in a
Yeah.
spaceship.
I got a handgun on the ground.
And
you want
that-
me to protect you?
And that reminds me, one thing that's great about Star Fox 64 is the fact that that is probably by far the most quotable video game ever made.
Oh, they're still
ever
quoting it
made.
today. Do a barrel roll.
Yeah.
Any line from Slippy, you know.
I don't care what they say. They can say it's cheesy dialogue. It is the best dialogue I have ever heard in any
Something
video
up
game.
ahead looks different, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could have just like a ringtone of the different things they say.
Sleepy's not gonna screw up after all.
It's
It's a lot, Peppy.
You know, they got the remake for 3DS, and that one's fucking awesome. But it's so sad that they couldn't just get the original like dialogue in there.
Yeah, I know.
I just kept like the thing too is when I was playing, I'm like, maybe you unlock it.
Yeah, they did. That would be fun. They did a pretty good job on certain characters. I think
A
it was
couple characters are like,
maybe
oh,
it was
that's the
Peppy
thing.
that was off.
Yeah, Peppy's the one that I thought was bad, and then everybody said that. They're like,
Yeah.
you know, Fox is fine, Slippy's fine, even Falco's fine, and a lot of the other characters,
It was
but
Peppy was.
They still got like, and Josh's enemy is my enemy. They still got that.
yeah,
Yeah,
they still
they do,
like
yeah.
it's like the
But it's
guys
not the
that
same,
do it.
yeah.
What it sounds like if we all got together, maybe a
And
couple
did it.
other people, and
And did
we
it.
tried to do it like as much as possible
Yeah.
to be like the same, but we don't have exactly the same voice as
You
these
know.
guys.
Oh, that would have been
Yeah.
a great thing for Nintendo to do. To be like, okay, here's a drawing. Tell us in like one paragraph why you love Star Fox 64, and give us a voice sampling. And
Yeah.
if you're selected, you get to do a voiceover for the Star Fox 64 on DS,
That'd be
like-
pretty sweet.
like or
Pretty
3DS.
awesome.
Like that would have been a really
Put a
good
contest
sweepstakes
out for
like
voice
contest
actors.
for Star Fox 64.
I just I can never figure out like maybe this. I mean, I know lots of times soundtracks and things like that they can't like do it again, but it's like really it's like.
yeah.
It's on file somewhere.
Well, that too, it's like okay, are the people that did Star Fox 64 that big of actors now that they don't want to be a part of it anymore?
I
Like,
know. Come on, really?
The guy that voiced Slippy is just like
Well,
in
maybe-
like a mansion made of cocaine or something.
Maybe a couple of them were the same. I just couldn't tell. That could have possibly been the case, and I just couldn't tell.
I guarantee you, probably like some of those voice actors, 2 or 3 of them are probably the same. people.
yeah, it's, just,
Yeah.
it's really the Peppy I know is the big one. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
some of the
funny.
bosses are kind of off. but
Maybe Fox was the same. I don't know.
Fox, that guy who did Fox did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Unless he is the
I'm
same
guessing
guy.
the guy who does Fox and Wolf are probably the same guy.
Well,
Thinking
probably
back
in the
on
original
that.
64 one, there's probably like 5 guys that do all those voices.
Yeah.
And one girl, maybe.
Yeah.
So what was the main line Wolf had? Like, that's far enough, Star Fox, or whatever
Right.
line. What was that his line? When they came in?
don't get too cocky, Star.
That's what it was, yeah. Which you
Jack,
never
your
think-
war is good as mine!
which they
Andros' enemy is my enemy.
Randy Newman is
Yeah, gonna shoot down Star Fox, yeah. Gonna blow up a ship, gonna fly to the moon, yeah.
Randy Newman is Andrew Oikeny.
Yeah, I'm going down here.
He doesn't have like a steering wheel. He just has like a keyboard.
It's a keyboard to fly. Ooh, crash. Ooh. Yeah. All right, Ryan, what's your number 9?
My number 9. Can't make up mind which one going first, so I'll just say it when I see. Street Fighter Alpha 3.
All right, there we go. That's a good one.
I'm not gonna lie, I fucking suck at fighting games, but Street Fighter Alpha 3 is the first one that really got me into it, the one for Dreamcast.
Yeah.
And
That's the best version one, too.
that, like, even though I would always. I'm not exactly the most patient person. Even though I got my ass kicked time and time again, I just kept on coming back to that game.
Yeah.
And I never. The game still. I can still pull out my. I mean, I don't. I have a PSP. I barely play it, but the one game I always do play every so often is Street Fighter Alpha 3. And
don't they have a couple extra characters in that in the PSP
they
one?
They have
Like,
Eagle.
They have a couple like cool ones if I remember correctly.
They have Eagle and they have Guy's girlfriend, the ninja chick.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because I remember like that one had a couple extra characters in it.
Yeah.
But that Street Fighter is a very definitive one though, because it had all the characters from number 2.
Yeah.
Had all the characters from Alpha, and then it added a bunch of extra stuff in there too.
They have like also characters from like Streets of Rage, right?
No, not Streets of Rage, Final Fight.
Final Fight, right?
Yeah.
I always get those two mixed up.
It was a
They're
great
practically the
upgrade
same
for,
game, but one's
for-
Capcom, one's Sega.
For those who played Street Fighter 2 on the arcade machine or Sega,
Super
like
Nintendo.
or Super Nintendo, like that was a good little like
3D.
step up. Like, hey, let's like clean up the graphics a little bit. Let's give you some more characters, a little bit smoother.
Moves a little bit faster, yeah.
Yeah.
So I still enjoy. I mean, let me put it this way: when I was younger, I enjoyed and I liked Street Fighter, and I liked Street Fighter 2 and Turbo and all that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really till Alpha 3, so I really got into it because that's where it felt so much, like you said, Cisco. It felt so much smoother. It was a lot faster. Graphics looked real. I mean, they still look good today. They're simple, but they look really good even today. I think.
Yeah.
Oh, the one thing I really liked a lot in that game too, that was never, they take it out like all the other Street Fighters, but they had like the World Tour mode, and it's only on the Dreamcast one. I don't think that's in the PlayStation one. I could be wrong, but and it was probably in the PSP one if I had to guess. And that World Tour mode was really cool because the downfall of a lot of Street Fighter games is they don't give a single player too much to fucking do in them.
Yeah.
You know, Dead or Alive, they give you costumes and all kinds of stuff to unlock. Mortal Kombat mostly always gives you a pretty good story. You know. But Street Fighter always kind of been like, here you go, here's an arcade cabinet fighting game. Make sure you got friends.
Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah.
You know, they might give you a couple videos, you know, but because I remember Street Fighter 4, though it's a really good game, it was kind of a letdown compared, I guess you could say, to Street Fighter Alpha 3.
It was a good game, yeah, and I I understand why there's not as many characters in it, just because, you're comparing.
Yeah, and you're making newer graphics, and that part doesn't bother me nearly as much.
That bothers me for, say, something like, I'm not going to try and get off topic here. That bothers me for something, say, Marvel versus Capcom 2 or 3. It doesn't bother me for Street Fighter.
Yeah, number 3. Because I think number 2 has all the same characters from number 1, doesn't it?
What?
What?
Well, that's what I mean.
From
From the jump. I mean, from the
Excluding,
jump.
like-
I mean, from the jump
yeah.
from 2 to 3. That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
But
It's funny because whenever we play Marvel vs. Capcom 3, every time we've ever played it, you sit down and you just kind of play it the whole time, and you just kind of bitch going like, well, this part's not that good. Well, not nearly as good as Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And then you get about 10 battles into it, and you go, let's play Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Yeah, do that, yeah. And then you go play Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and you're like, man, this game is so much better than number 3.
Yeah.
play it twice as long too.
Yeah, and you end up playing. It's happened to me every time.
3's still a good game.
It's still a good game, but it's just there's so
If
much
you never played
missing.
2.
If you never played 2, you probably never think anything of it. But
Yeah.
But
yeah, let's go
Alpha
with
3 though. Awesome
Alpha 3,
game. Love
amazing.
it.
Yeah. What's your number 9?
My number 9 is Resident Evil 1.
For GameCube?
You know, my favorite
I was-
version I'm gonna go with is I'm gonna say,
For the director's cut?
yep, I'm gonna
Okay,
go with
okay.
the DS version.
Yes, okay.
Because you know what, and this is one of the main things. It sounds such a weird thing. This is why I like the DS one more than I like the PlayStation one. I love how you can skip the doors.
Yes, I
It
do
sounds
too.
so weird.
It,
When in
it
Resident
cuts
Evil,
half
you
an
go
hour off at
through
least.
so many loading doors.
Yeah.
It's so nice that you can cut. I mean,
Yeah.
I got speed runs in that game of like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think it's all due to the fact because you cut through the doors.
Yeah, that was so good.
And I thought that was the coolest thing ever when they put that, because that game kind of got shit on, like the one that came up for DS. So like, yeah, nothing different than the PlayStation one. Like,
Well, except for the awesome battle mode where you could like fight the yawn with like your like hack and slash mode.
yeah, they
and
put the
stuff.
hack and slash. You know, I remember playing that hack and slash, like the kind of, I guess you could say the DS version of the
Yeah.
game. I probably played that version twice,
Mhm.
and I played the classic version of it like 15 times on that game.
Yeah.
One time at school, I beat that game 3 times in one day. I beat it.
Yeah.
I want to say I beat it once in every period.
Yeah, that's pretty insane.
And that's when I think I got like 41-minute like speed run into it.
Yeah.
And this is one of those, I was so waiting, like, man, if they put this out there, maybe they're gonna put 2 and 3 on the DS, and they never ever did.
And they still can for the 3DS. I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
why not?
Why not? Because it was such a cool thing, and like, I like when they take a version. It's like, okay, it's still the old graphics. I know that's why people bitched about it, like in reviews and whatnot. And it's kind of like,
I didn't
this
care.
is what I always say.
I like that. It's a nostalgia.
When
feel.
it's on a handheld, the only thing I care about, it's like, I get a portable game. It's like the Star Fox ones. Like, I get
Yeah.
a portable Star Fox. Or, Ocarina of Time for like the 3DS. I get a
Yeah.
portable Ocarina of Time. Why am I
Exactly.
complaining?
This is the one with zombies, right?
Yeah, Resident Evil.
I'm like the only person
You
here.
played Resident Evil 4 and 5.
I played 4 and 5. Yeah, I'm
And
the only-
6.
I'm the only person who's never played Resident Evil 1, 2, or 3.
Okay.
And well, it's those ones I want. I'd love. Well, you know,
I'm sure it's great.
You know
I'm
the
not-
old PlayStation games how like
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
open
yeah.
a door, it loads.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
They cut that out in the DS one, so you click the door and just click twice,
Yeah,
and
that's-
it goes straight through.
That's an old
That is
Capcom
so
trademark,
nice.
wasn't it?
yeah. Well, it's how you pre-rendered graphics. It was
Yeah.
like the loading door. That's pretty
I
much.
remember it a lot. Same creator. I remember a lot of it from the original Devil May Cry.
Yeah, Devil May Cry.
Not that many.
Except for theirs just goes to black.
loading
It just goes to black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, that version was so good. It was portable Resident Evil. It looked great.
Yep.
They added some extra features. There's even a co-op mode, which wasn't as amazing as I thought it was going to be, but it was still cool. It was still
Yeah.
something. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I like that one a lot.
All right. Well,
Plus, it's the best story. I just have to say that. All
yeah,
Resident Evil,
it
though,
is definitely the best
that
story.
number one doesn't matter what you played on. You played on GameCube. You played on PlayStation. You read the fucking book.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Is it number 2 where it's like Anna? No.
Ada.
Ada.
No.
I used to think it was like I always
that one or
said it
two?
like this. I was like
It's two.
Ada. No. But then it's like it's actually
It's
way
just
shorter. than that.
Ada.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up Director's Cut because that leads us great into the next one, which is not my number 8, which is Resident Evil 1 for the GameCube.
That's the
I
other really
love that game.
The other zombie game.
The other zombie game. Now that game was great because you take the classic Resident Evil 1 Director's Cut, whatever you want to say, and just move it up, add some more graphics, add some creepy things like the character of Lisa, that like little thing, that like three-headed creature that dragged its arms on the ground that was chained up and made the sound, you know, like.
And it was kind of like
Pretty
maybe
good
like a
game.
Silent Hill character, sort of.
It was a lot like a Silent Hill character. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I just remember playing that game. I got it for the GameCube when it first came out, and I still say that is probably the scariest video game I've ever played.
I agree. I will still say that one is the scariest.
There are some damn scary games out there, but there's just something about that game. Even though now when I play it, I always know what's going to be around every corner, unless of course that damn kamikaze zombie comes in. Then I'm not going to know when he's around the corner.
The problem is you accidentally always shoot the kamikaze zombie accidentally.
Or you'd freak out and you'd have a melee weapon equipped, and you'd
Yeah.
stab him and he'd blow up. That's the one. If there's one downfall to that game, it's the fact that you cannot turn off the kamikaze zombie once he's unlocked.
Yeah, it's like you kind of get far in the game, and the game goes, okay, no.
Yeah.
Either you can restart your file,
Yeah.
or you can put up with this.
Yeah, and it was like, but I want to unlock the cool shit, but I can't because that stupid fucking zombie. And the problem is because it adds time. Like even if you do like, you know, end up not killing it throughout the run, you're still gonna waste 10 minutes at least running away from the damn thing.
Now, isn't the kamikaze zombie doesn't he only appear like in the first third of the game, and then you don't see him after that?
No, I
I
can't give it.
remember.
I can't give a definitive answer. I think you see him later in the game as well. I want to say you do, but even still, it's just a pain in the ass. But let alone that is such a fun game.
And the graphics
Such
still
a
hold up
fun
so
game.
well.
And you had enough ammo where you could kill every zombie. They had those awesome crimson heads. I gotta give a shout out to those. Those things were the scariest
And
enemies
they never brought
ever.
those back, too. I don't know why.
Are those the berserker ones that run at
Pretty
you?
much.
The ones, if you kill them, if you don't burn them or decapitate them, they come back as crimson heads, which
And they got these
they
red
run at you with these giant
claws and red
claws. Like,
heads.
imagine Freddy Krueger basically
Oh,
as a
okay.
zombie running at you. It was crazy, very scary game. And then you get your speed runs down, and it's. I play the game. I'm like, this is the Resident Evil at its classiest. That's what I think.
I think so, too. I do agree with it's about
Yeah.
classiest.
Yeah.
There's something I like about the original one. I think that's almost like it's how short it sort of is, too. It's like
Yeah.
it's short and sweet and just the perfect amount.
Yeah.
You know, and I like the look of that original one, too, because it just has these, strange enough, it has these really bright graphics, which, 2, 3, and on, they made it all dark and dim.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it is. Sometimes when you're in a really bright room, that almost makes it scarier.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
You know? But no, Resident Evil, I think that those two are the definitive Resident Evils. I love Resident Evil, and there's not really a Resident Evil I don't like, but...
Yeah. Resident Evil 1 for the GameCube. That's my number 8. Great game.
Dunigan, what's your number 8?
My number 8 is
It's Resident Evil.
Resident Evil 4, or as I call it, the fourth zombie game. This is going to seem a little kind of like, that's kind of new, but it's kind of everything I like about this character in one game, and makes you really feel like the character, and that is Batman Arkham City. And I say that, they may seem a little new.
Well, it's
but
kind of nice to have a new one on there because I don't know what it is. In life, you always want to do this thing. Whenever you put, like, it's like, same with movies or books or anything like that, you always feel like just because it's classic, it almost gets a couple extra points.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I got about 3 newish games on here. But that one right there, to me, it's one of those games that's just like, well, Batman's 3 favorite fictional characters of all time. Batman, Clint Eastwood's Man with the No Name, and Terrence from Office Space. Those are my 3 fictional characters.
Nice.
So, there's no Terrence game, and I think the closest thing we're going to get to a Man with No Name game is Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah.
So, but
You got the Dirty Harry game for Nintendo.
That's
Oh,
right.
that's true, that's true.
It's a pretty badass game, too.
But Man with No Name. I still love Dirty Harry,
Yeah.
but Man with No Name.
Yeah.
But Batman Arkham City, though, is one of those games, though, where it kind of takes everything I like about Batman. It has the sneaking aspect, it has the brawling aspect, the graphics are just beautiful, and on top of that, it plays really smooth. And you also have, like, the thing, because there's people always kind of debating of, like, how much is what Batman? Is this enough Batman? Is that not enough Batman? Because I love the Christopher Nolan films, but like Spencer said a few times, they stay in reality, and that's fine, because there are a lot of Batman stories that stay in reality, but
it's missing that fantasy sci-fi element that I kind of like.
yeah, and there are stories that stay out of that,
And the
but
color.
at the same time though, this one, it has all that. It has, like, okay, let's have a story that is very serious, that is very dark, but we're not afraid to go into science fiction and fantasy aspects of it.
And give characters colorful outfits and whatnot.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why I just Arkham, like the whole series, it is Batman. It's like the best like mashup you could possibly have because it takes from everything, from the movies to the animated series, to the comics, and so on. Just does it all right.
Mm-hmm.
It makes a fantastic game out of it that combines things from like Assassin's Creed and Prince of Persia, and even games like Devil May Cry.
Yeah, and they're like we said earlier, like Star Wars is one of those games that first made you really feel like, oh yeah, I'm actually playing. It sounds cheesy, but I'm really flying an X-wing right now.
Mm-hmm.
At this age, Batman, or like I guess 2 years ago when this game came out, Arkham City really did give you that vibe of being Batman right there. And if I died, I would actually feel guilty because like Batman would not have died by those thugs, right? So.
Yeah, sometimes you get kind of like cheap killed in that game. Like,
I can play like a Mario or Sonic game and jump off a cliff. I'm like, fuck, I'll try it again. But if Batman gets like sniped by some bitch off in a corner, I'm just like, Batman would not die that way. What is this? You said you had a really sad story.
I remember because like I went down. I played the game and I was like, in Arkham City, you can find like your parents like outline down in a crime alley, and if you press Y or something like that, you put the rose down or whatnot. And then I climbed up to the top.
Well, we should first say what happens is if you stay there long enough, it rotates. And Hugo Strange, Cisco, who's the villain of the game, says like, he's just a scary voiceover like, I will find you, Bruce, and I will break you. All this scary stuff. Yeah. And you hear like kind of like the gunshot, the screaming, this very sad, like I think there's a piano
in the background.
Yeah. And then you get up and there's just silence. And then
I was climbing up back to the top of the building. I'm like, okay, let's go get back to the mission. And right when I get to the very top, a sniper shoots me, and Batman falls down right onto his parents' like outline and dies. It was just like, oh my god.
Wow, what is this supposed to say?
It was almost like you guys almost turn the game off and sit back, turn the lights off, and take it all in.
Alright. Okay. What's your number 8, Spence?
My number 8, I gotta pull this list out. I feel like when we're playing cards, we have 2 fucking cards, and we have to check it every single time.
What's the flop again?
My number 8 is Mario RPG.
Oh, alright.
Now, Super Mario RPG for the Super Nintendo is just an amazing game.
Yes,
and I'm going to quote what Nintendo Power said back in 1995. This game should almost not even be called an RPG because it's got so much action, adventure, and platforming and all kinds of other stuff going in it. It's a package deal game.
I will say that game right there is on my list. I'm not going to say where it is, but it's much higher than that. But
I knew it would be, so I was like, I'll break up the mold then.
Well, that game is, it's my favorite RPG ever.
It's so good.
And people are going to look at me like, what? What about Final Fantasy? I'm like, well, I'm getting there. Final Fantasy's in there too. Don't worry about that. But, that game is just so good. And I know Paper Mario was fun and all that stuff, but it's nothing compared to Mario RPG.
Well, the sad thing, they've never been able to capture that Mario
No, they
RPG
haven't.
ever again.
They haven't.
They almost, in a sense, they kiddieify it for all the ones afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll say this. I've never played this game, and I feel absolutely... Oh, I played it once when I was a kid, but only for a little while, like at a Target or something. And it looks amazing. I'm sure it's a game, if I played it, I'd absolutely love it.
Oh, yeah.
So I do feel bad.
I mean, it holds up so damn well.
You'll love it.
I'm sure I'd love it. I'm surprised they haven't brought it to the DS yet or something. But anyway,
They just have it as a Wii download right now.
So I wish you have a download for 3DS.
just bring it to the 3DS. I know for a fact.
I would buy it in a heartbeat.
Well, the thing about
They already own multiple copies.
and if I had to guess, because I had Paper Mario 1, I bought Thousand Year Door, but I never finished it.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, they're trying to be kind of like, I'm not trying to defend them here, but because this one was like, it's Mario RPG, look how good the graphics are. We're trying to take, it almost doesn't look like, even though it's still Mario, it looked like they're trying to take it just a little more seriously.
No, that's
And then
true.
you get to Paper Mario, it's kind of like, oh, well, the last one was so, well detailed. This one, let's have a little gimmick where they're like kind of like all 2D and paper and
cut
it's
out.
yeah, kind of adds to like the artsiness, which that was still a fun game, but it was one of those things that did kind of, I guess, bring, because that didn't bother me, even though I liked that game, it did bring it down for me a little. The fact that, just like, oh, look how we got all these paper puns happening every 5 seconds, So.
Well, the one thing about Mario RPG, what I just really liked, is they treated Mario very serious.
Yeah, they did.
And then the upside, too, is the game is a serious game. It's,
Yeah.
maybe not nearly as hardcore as, like, Final Fantasy VI or something at the time.
Yeah.
But it's not that far off, too. You know, and it has really cool things, because one thing I like about it, and this just makes an RPG more fun, is when you attack, if you press A at the right time, you do more damage. If you press A at the right time, when somebody attacks you, you block.
Yeah.
And all the specials are like that too. So when you jump
trigger,
on somebody, as Mario, you can bounce off and get combos.
And stuff, yeah.
And some of them are, you tap like the fire flower a bunch of times and you shoot more out. So it kind of added instead of just sitting there pressing attack.
And it introduced a couple characters that you never saw in the game, and they still haven't been in the game.
Mello and what's the other?
Mallow
Gino.
and Gino. Now Mallow was kind of gay, but
No
Gino
one's
was.
Mallow, I noticed. Everyone always talks about Mallow. It's like,
Gino's
fuck.
really badass.
Gino's badass though. And Mallow, he's just.
There are a lot of people are trying to get Gino to be in a trying to sign a petition to get Gino to be in Smash Brothers.
I would be an
I'd
awesome
sign
Smash
that.
Bros.
That'd be an amazing character to put in there.
They even had
So much better than some of the shit they keep giving us. Like,
Yeah.
we got, yoga instructor. And villager.
I was just to say,
It's like,
fucking
And you're
Mallow.
like, what?
Huh?
Why don't you just put a big purple dildo walking around?
Yeah, exactly.
God.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I was just like, really? It's like, maybe the one thing I think could be kind of an interesting thing, just to throw in there as a bonus character, is you could play as your Mii's, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. They all play the
Because
same
then you could have like, oh, dude, I'm playing as Tom Morello versus Elton John, Oh, look at this Barack Obama, yeah. I'm gonna kill you, dude.
Anthony Kiedis just like kicked the shit out of Bowser.
Yeah, so you could have something cool like that, but
Yeah.
really it's like, Villagers one, it's like, at least put like Tom Nook, or at least, if you're gonna pick an Animal Crossing character, put a fucking regular one in there, not the basic generic guy, or it's even more generic, it's the fucking Wii Fitness trainer or whatever, it's like,
Yeah.
but no, Gino, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, Gino would be an awesome character.
No, Mario RPG it is so cool. It's like one of those you gotta play it at some point. It'll blow your mind.
Yeah,
I'm sure
if you play video games, if you consider yourself a gamer, you have to play that game. or
Don't
else
give
you're
me.
not a
Don't
gamer. I'm
don't
sorry,
guilt
Ryan.
trip me.
If you
I'm
consider
saying
yourself
it,
a
Ryan.
Mario fan,
I'm saying it, Ryan. You have to play that game.
even if
You
it's like
have
those
to.
ones like
I
it
know
is
I
in the
gotta
top
play it. I'll let you
5
borrow it.
must-play Mario games.
Seriously, I will let you borrow my Super Nintendo, and you can play that game
Okay,
and beat
if it
it.
means
Like seriously, it's that good of a game. I mean, Spencer
Well,
did the same
I'll
thing with
finally
the
get- I'll
Chrono
finally get-
Trigger. Like, how to play that game.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
well,
you had to.
where I'm
Yeah.
going, I'll finally get internet so maybe I can download that to my Wii finally.
You
Yeah.
download it to your Wii, or if worse comes worse, I'll give you the ROM.
Yeah, there you go.
I own it, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Cisco owns it, that's close enough.
Close enough.
Kind of is.
Okay.
All right, so my number 7, right? We're on 7 now,
I
right?
think so.
Okay. My number 7, I'm gonna say it because I gotta get props to it. It's my only Game Boy game on this list. I gotta say Pokemon Leaf Green. And I say that, and I can encompass all Pokemon games into that particular game because they're all great. And Pokemon is my childhood. I was like the same age as Ash when that series came out, so it's like that was like me, Spencer, and Ryan were all in that together.
Yeah, so my number 7 is Pokemon.
All right,
It's the
we all
same
said
game.
it.
And that's what I said too.
Did you say Leaf Green?
I knew you guys
No,
would
I
have
said
that,
Fire
so-
Red Leaf Green because
Okay.
that's my favorite version.
Yeah.
But I did write down red, blue, and yellow.
I knew
Yeah.
you guys would have that, so I just even put it on the list.
Yeah.
I did some of that too because I knew that somebody else would have it. So I'm like, I did a Street Fighter. I was like, should I put? I'm like, Ryan put Street Fighter on there.
Yeah.
Why bother?
The thing I loved about it, it's like they did the same thing they did to Leaf Green as Resident Evil, as Capcom did Resident Evil for the remake, because they updated the graphics and they added a little extra, but they still kept the integrity of the game.
Yeah, it wasn't like it wasn't really like it was like a total remake where they really have to reboot and change everything. It was same game, better graphics, better play control,
More character, more Pokemon you could catch.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I bought Leaf Green from a pawn shop. Didn't work, but I have all the memories of the yellow, blue, and red. And that's still. I mean, I can talk shit on the Pokemon TV show now and whatever, but really going back, the game itself still is a really fun game.
Yeah.
And even the newer games that I did play are still good games. I mean, I don't really care for the story or anything, but just strictly in the sense of a game.
Pokemon's only gone up even still. You know?
Even in the just in the sense of a game though, that they're still really fun, and that was what kind of started it. I mean, none of them really kind of had that same oomph or kick that the first one had to me.
If one thing's gonna keep Nintendo handhelds alive, it's Pokemon.
It's Pokemon. That's the key thing.
Yeah.
And you know what's the thing too? It's like really Pokemon's the only RPG that I've been able to find in like about the last 10 years that's an actual like turn-based original style RPG that's still really good and interesting.
I miss turn-based. Come
Because
on, bring turn-based back, damn it.
You know, I've asked a lot. When I went online to you, I'm like, does anybody know? I've looked for many years and I've played many games, but I still to this day can't find a good enough turn-based game that has really good graphics. You know, and I've played games that are close, but no cigar. Like Lost Odyssey, it was close, but it wasn't exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah.
You know, but Pokemon always holds that fucking for me. They don't change, and also it's good. You know, people always kind of complain like, you know, Pokemon's not changing enough. Well, as long as they're not changing in a bad way, that's fine with me. You know, and with Pokemon X and Y, that shows progression. But when it gets down to Red and Blue, I think that's just a key childhood memory game.
Yep.
That almost like I played RPGs slightly before that, but that's what really got me into RPGs. That's what led to everything else.
Yep. All right, Ryan, what's your number 7?
My number 7. We on 7 already?
Yep.
Yes, we are. My number 7 is, and this is a newer one. I got kind of like 3 newer ones right in a row. Grand Theft Auto 5.
Okay.
The reason I say that is because, I mean, a lot of people, I'm sure if you pinpoint and pick it long enough, you could say, oh, this doesn't have this, doesn't have that. But to me, from what I remember from Grand Theft Auto 5, this thing has everything from the previous Grand Theft Auto games and more. I mean, it doesn't have the thing from San Andreas. This is the thing that kind of scared me away from, not scared, but pushed me away from San Andreas, was the whole, like, you have to eat every so often, your character has to stay in shape.
The way I've always addressed the eating thing is, like, it wasn't really that big of a deal, because you only had to eat, like, every 2 hours, but at some point you had to get health, so, like, that's where you got it from.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kind of got fat after a while if you just kept eating, like, a bunch of pizzas and stuff.
And the whole thing with, like gain territory, like, you had to constantly be defending your area, so you have to stop doing it.
Oh, yeah.
That
There's plenty of risk.
That was kind of like a mini game, though. It wasn't like necessary, but it was kind of fun mini game.
Yeah.
I remember doing that, like conquering the entire try city area.
So, I mean, I'm not trying to just sit here and talk shit about the older ones, because, I mean, Grand Theft Auto 5, that's the first one I really played seriously, but it kind of had... That game just hooked me, and it has one of my favorite video game characters I've ever seen, and that's Trevor. Mm-hmm. That guy is just... Because it's like, you can play as Michael or Franklin, and, you know, they're criminals, but they have this code, and they're fairly likable guys for the most part. But Trevor, he is kind of like... He is like... Generally, when you play a game, you know, you play like Tommy Vercetti or whatever, going around killing people. I don't think Tommy Vercetti would do that. Trevor embodies that like 10-year-old kid that snuck into his big brother's room and just murdering and killing everything he sees. And they put that mindset into a like 40-year-old man's body, give him a lot of meth, and then he's a playable character.
Yep.
Cool. So he's like that character. Good. I don't have to feel bad about running over pedestrians or anything.
Yeah, because you're shooting at the other guys, you just feel like...
I feel that... It sounds so stupid. I know it's a video game. I shouldn't care. But if I run over like a pedestrian or something as Franklin, I'll feel bad because I know Franklin wouldn't do that according to the rest of the story.
Yeah.
But as Trevor, I'm like, Trevor wouldn't give a shit.
Yeah, he would be doing that.
So if I need a rampage mode, I just go play Trevor. And that game is just so much fun. I just can't... Yeah.
See, that's one game. I need to play that one at some point. I have yet to play.
Yeah, neither have I actually. So
I just kind of like bypassed it, and then like I was like, I'll get to it, and then I know I will at some point. But
So, yeah, I'll get it too at some point, but not.
And we should acknowledge that these are just kind of like this list is kind of how we feel at the moment. This may change like in 5 years or something.
yeah,
like
and
that.
that's one of those ones like you
Well,
know.
my top 5 aren't going to change, but yeah.
and
6 to
I
10
even kind of
are gonna change.
did the way I did sort of pick my list was almost by trying to be more unique than
Yeah.
pick exactly. But
Yeah.
there's thousands of good games. We're just trying to pick enough to talk about.
Exactly, and make them versatile enough. In this game, really love this game, and it's also like my other favorite part of the game is the fact that you can like assemble a heist, and I always liked heist films, and this is one of those things where like, okay, we can go with this. There's certain factors you got to take in, like, all right, well, we can get this guy. He's gonna take a bigger cut of the heist, but it's gonna go smoothly. We can take this guy over here. He's a lot cheaper, but something might go wrong.
He's the oddball, yeah.
Yeah, so and
It's a
that's
roll
kinda,
of dice.
yeah, kind of like that. Or there's multiple ways you can go about the heist, so it gives you some reason to replay certain missions and all
Well,
that.
that's pretty
so,
cool.
Yeah.
And that one, because like remember the biggest like loss I think to Grand Theft Auto 4 was the fact that they took out so much of like it's like the story was all fine in Grand Theft Auto 4. That was fine. If that's all you want to play, that was great. But if you want to mess around, don't play Grand Theft Auto 4.
You
Yeah.
could-
That's
this
why I
one-
didn't play it, because they took the
They just took so much shit out of
You
that
can
game.
you can fly a plane, you can fly a helicopter,
Jets,
submarine.
carriers. See, that's cool. As long as there's a bunch of... Can you drive a fucking train like you could in San Andreas?
I don't know about that.
Can you jump out
I
of a
didn't
plane?
try. What?
Can you jump out of a plane? Do you have a parachute?
You can have your
Because
parachute.
in Grand Theft Auto
I don't
4
know if
took
you have a
with parachute.
Harrier. I don't know. I'm sure that because there's stuff there you can unlock and find. I don't know if there's.
You
a
go at the
Harrier.
airport, you can pick up like a 747 and so on.
Yeah,
Because that was such a cool aspect. And I mean, maybe that's one of those ones because the only games we ever had before was like Flight Simulator and things like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like the idea is like, oh my, it's in a Grand Theft Auto world. I can fly this plane. I can crash it into a building. You know.
I remember playing Flight Simulator and like crash into a building and stuff. That's like the funnest part of the game.
I know. Well, Flight Simulator, it's like you really first have to I have to really figure out how to fly this plane.
Yeah.
Just like if I'm like, if I hijack a plane in real life and try to escape, I don't know how far I'm gonna get.
Yeah.
By Flight Simulator, I really fucking suck.
Well, I always have trouble. I mean, I can do it, but I always had trouble for a while landing a plane in Grand Theft Auto. I always had trouble. So now I reached the point. Once I get the parachute, though, I don't even land anymore. I just jump out.
Well, I love to do that. Like it's just like one of those
I gotta
something you could never do in real life is just let a plane go flying.
Yeah.
As you bail out and go
As
to
you
your
bail out.
mission.
Well, since you already did number 7, should we
Yeah,
just-
so we're going to the next one.
Okay, go to number 6, I guess. All right. Okay, so my number 6. I have to put this one in there because it is the one game that I can be cocky about, and that's GoldenEye for the N64. That game is incredible, and it's my favorite first-person shooter, and I've yet to find an equal challenger other than Spencer to me with that game. So that challenge is accepted. Someone send me an email. I will challenge you at GoldenEye.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
Yeah.
I think GoldenEye is the key first-person shooter of all games.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what, you can always go back to it.
Yeah.
It holds up so well. The levels are great. The multiplayer is great.
characters are awesome. The weapons, as you said, yeah.
Love that game, but Cisco's kind of scared me away from versus mode on that. Yeah, I just find myself being like, fuck it, I don't care. Like throwing the N64 controller down, like, I'm done, I don't care. Me, this suck,
Yeah, that game,
My inner-
it just...
Fifth grader comes out.
Yeah, and that game, it's like one of those things. Like, of course, you can be a little cheap by playing as Oddjob, but I always played as Boris. I always thought.
Well, one thing about Oddjob though is it's easy to get a headshot on him though. That's the
Yeah,
one.
that's the
That's
one
the one
plus to it.
downfall.
You
It's
can't
like
get
he's
a-
short, but it's all you gotta do is aim down slightly. And
Yeah, and you get a headshot, but
it's multiple. I played first-person shooters before that. I played Doom and I played Wolfenstein and Catacombs, like all the PC ones. But when GoldenEye came out, that was just the one. I was just like, oh my god.
I don't care about Halo. I don't care about any other first-person shooters out nowadays. That game trumps them all. That game is just incredible. And then the remakes were good too, but it's just nothing as good as the classic N64 GoldenEye with that controller in particular.
Yeah, the controller makes it. It's something about it. It's just like those controls work so well. Even no matter how many different control schemes I play after that, I can always come back and it's just fresh again.
Yep.
But 007 had a good run after that. I always think like a good heyday of 007 games was on the GameCube. I know they came out for PS2 and Xbox, but they feel. I don't know why 007 just feels more like a Nintendo thing than anything.
It does, because they had Nightfire, Everything or Nothing. They had.
I mean, you could get those all for PS2 and Xbox,
Age of Empire, yeah.
but they just they felt perfect.
Yeah.
On Nintendo, sort of like Resident Evil. It just feels more of like a Nintendo game. I know it started on PlayStation, but it just feels way more Nintendo.
I agree.
This is gonna be a little off topic for a second, but didn't they have Tomorrow Never Dies for the PlayStation?
Uh-huh.
And that it played like Siphon Filter or something like that.
That was a cool one
It
too.
had
I
it
like
for
that one.
N64 as well.
No, they didn't. They had World's Not Enough.
Oh, World's Not Enough. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, World's Not Enough, and that was when it switched from Rare to EA.
Oh,
You know, and the
Uh-huh.
EA did a good job because they did Nightfire, they did
Yeah.
Everything or Nothing, they did Agent Under Fire. You know,
GoldenEye Rogue Agent was. Did anybody ever play that one?
I
Curious.
remember playing that
It
one.
was okay.
Yeah, it was okay.
Fun.
It's
It
kinda
wasn't
how I
bad.
felt.
It just wasn't. I thought
Well,
it
plus, like,
was
It
Double-
wasn't as
died-
good as like Nightfire was another pretty pinnacle game.
Unless
Yeah.
he comes back at the end, 007 dies at the beginning like a bitch. It's kind of like, really?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like an alternate reality thing.
I know it's
Yeah.
supposed to be an alternate reality, but still, even alternate reality, you know.
It's like Batman dying like a bitch in the very beginning, and he plays like the Joker, and you're like, well, what are they gonna do then?
Well,
Yeah,
or even though
go
it's an
play
alternate
cards
reality,
and
even though it's an alternate reality, it's like Ultimatum. You don't want to see like Wasp get her guts eaten out. You don't want to
Yeah.
see like just fucking Daredevil floating like in a fucking gutter. You
Yeah.
know?
yeah, Spider-Man walks back like, I used to know that guy.
All right. And what's your number 6, Ryan?
My number 6 here is kind of like my last new one, Fallout 3.
Oh, Fallout.
Ah, yes.
I thought
I had to fight myself whether or not I was going to put that on my list or not.
I thought somebody was gonna put it, so I didn't worry about it.
Yeah.
Because that game is just straight fucking crack.
Yeah.
And that was one of those games I really like. My brother had it for the PlayStation 3, so I'm just going to see what this is all about. So I played it.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really know anything about it going into it. I was just like, I just know it's the end of the world game, so let's see what this is all about. I played it, and sure enough, I just got straight up addicted to it. I'm like, I'm going to
Yeah.
go buy it for a 360. And
Mm-hmm.
sure enough, oh my god, that game, it's just...
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
And that game is one of those games. I love Fallout 3 so much, but I think I even love New Vegas a little bit more, but they're both like 10 out of 10. That's like a 10.5 out of 10 for me, like with New Vegas.
Well,
But a lot of people didn't like New Vegas. I know when it came out, it kind of like flopped, I guess. But honestly, I feel like
Did it
it's-
flop? I thought it sold well.
It did.
I don't
It
think
sold,
it-
it sold well enough for all the
Well,
fans.
when
but
a game
it
like
wasn't
in 2 months
it wasn't
drops down to like
groundbreaking.
$10, I always makes me question.
It wasn't groundbreaking like
Yeah.
Fallout 3 was. But it's still both Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. Those games, like out of new games, that's probably my favorite new
I
game.
put it like over 100 hours in Fallout 3.
Yeah. And that's my favorite game to come out in the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Last 10 years. Yeah,
I
last
don't know
10
about
years.
that, but I do like it a lot. Even though I will say though, the only downfall of Fallout 3 is once I was done with that game, I was really like Fallouted.
Yeah.
I was so burnt out on Fallout that I didn't know, like I didn't pick up New Vegas right away because I was like, I just felt like it wasn't.
Do you have
that
New
long
Vegas
ago.
now?
And I still don't have that one.
You gotta get that one.
And then
You gotta
also
get that one.
there's other games that came out like that I went out and tried, and I played them for a bit and I was just kind of like it's nothing wrong with the game, but I was just Fallouted. Like I played Rage,
Yeah.
and it's pretty much it's like Doom mixed with Fallout, but there's cars too. So it was a really cool game, had great graphics, played great. There's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. Great game. But I felt like I've been here, I've done that. And then there's Borderlands. I remember trying that game and I played it for about like an hour and a
I
half.
still haven't played that game.
And it's like Fallout if Fallout was like co-op,
Okay.
because you can play kind of like multiple players on it.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, it was cool, but I was like, I felt like I've been here, done this once again. It really like kind of, I don't know if it like killed some games for me for a while, but I just felt like I was so burnt out. I think it was just so much of like how Fallout was, and even though it's a great game,
Yeah.
there's so much time put into it.
Yeah.
All right.
But damn good game still.
Yeah.
We got number 6.
Yeah, number 6.
Now number 6 for me. This game is actually an amazing game. It's actually my only PC game that I have on.
Oh, you're gonna say my
I
number
already know
5?
this.
You're gonna say my number 5?
Red Alert 2.
Yes.
Red Alert 2, which is like
This one's the sequel to Rocky Horror Picture Show, right?
Yes, exactly.
Red Alert.
Yeah. That game is incredible. Spencer and
Command
I.
and Conquer Red Alert 2.
That's like Spencer and I's game. That game we played that so much when it came out online. That was like the first game that I played online. Really.
Yeah, it was like,
Yeah.
oh, I played so much online on that.
When that came out, Spencer lived in Sonora, and I lived.
You moved to Hawaii.
I moved to Hawaii, so I was
And we
playing
connected
online.
through we can still play Red
We
Alert
still talk
together.
to that. Yeah, that was the original like social networking was Red Alert 2 for me.
Yeah, because we call each other up on the phone and be like, "Do you want to play Red Alert? Yeah, let's play Red Alert." And we'd go and dial up or whatever.
Yeah.
And then that game is so good because I started off playing. I played the original Red Alert beforehand, and I played Tiberium's Son and Command and Conquer. But Red Alert 2 is just that was like the pinnacle of that whole series.
Yep.
Something about like they put the videos in there and they had some actual kind of like actors in there.
The actors
The
was so
story
cool.
was so good.
Yeah.
The characters were awesome, and then top it off, the
Such a
expansion
good-
pack made it
Yeah.
even more
Yuri's
amazing.
Revenge. Yeah. That game was so good, and the one thing I love about those games, And I'm glad they brought him back for Red Alert 3. I know they took him away for a little bit from games, but I love how they have the actual actors.
The
People say
live
it's
action
cheesy.
scenes.
Fuck that. I don't
That
care.
makes it
It's
so much
awesome.
better.
It's so much fun. It's so much more fun to like watch those little videos before you play a mission or something like that. I want you to find their underground facilities, blow the hell out of them.
Which one is it where like Tim Curry's is like the one place you did not expect
Red
to
Alert
go? Space! Which one was that?
Red Alert 3.
Red Alert
Yeah.
3.
And that's got Tim Curry as the voice.
Yeah.
One of my favorite actors of all time.
And
Is
Red Alert
in
3
Red
was
Alert
a great one, too.
Yeah,
That was,
yeah.
you know, it doesn't capture like as much, because Red Alert 2 is just,
It's like that game's an 8 out of 10, and Red Alert 3 is a 10 out of 10.
yeah, Red Alert 2.
Red Alert 2 is a 10 out of 10.
Red Alert 3 is like, yeah, Red Alert 3, it's actually pretty damn good, but there's just something about it.
Yeah.
And plus, too, because right after Red Alert, it's almost kind of reminds me of like with RPGs, how I said I have a hard time finding a new one that's good. Those strategy games, right after about Red Alert 2, I kind of had a hard time finding ones that were good, because then they started becoming the 3D graphics, and strangely, that made them harder to tell what the hell was going on.
Yeah,
Because I
it
remember
was.
that was when the Command & Conquer Generals came out,
Yeah.
and that one's kind of hard to go back and play. I tried to
play that.
I tried to play it not too long ago, and it's just like, it does not hold up that well.
No.
Where, you know...
And they took out the voice acting for that, or the acting for that.
The acting, because Command & Conquer always had, like, the live action scenes.
Yeah.
And then, there's many of them that kind of just... Afterwards, you know, were just not nearly as good, and it was hard to tell what was going on. They made them almost, like, too complex.
Yeah.
And Red Alert 2 just holds that ground. I mean,
The Soviet- how
fantastic.
cool the Soviets-
Yeah, there's the Soviets, you know,
That's
they
so
go back in
awesome.
time, they get rid of Hitler, so the Soviet Empire is, like, way big.
Yeah, and then for Red Alert 3, you know, they have the
They put the Japanese
Emperor of the
thing.
Rising Sun, as if, you know, if the nuclear bomb was never invented and Japan never surrendered.
Yeah, so they just
That's
built
such
up
a
this
cool
huge army,
story.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fantastic story. The gameplay is just amazing. I love the characters, just the look, the build, and those strategy games. Sometimes it's like it's amazing. You can start playing that game like when you wake up.
Yep.
And it'll be like 11 o'clock at night, and you're still playing.
Yep. It's
I've seen many
amazing.
people do it. People don't even play video games that much. Sometimes that'll happen.
Yep.
It's just
Well, that's my number 5. So we've already talked about the games. What's your number 5?
My number 5 is Star Fox 64.
Okay.
So we know that Star Fox is a damn good game.
Yep. And your number 5, Spence?
I guess it's come back to me then. Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Okay, I'm glad you put that in there. I almost did, but I knew you were gonna put that in there.
Yeah, that to me, Zombies Ate My
I feel like
Neighbors.
such a schmuck. There's a bunch of games you guys have, which I played a little bit of that, you know.
It's all right.
Yeah, that was the one. That's why I was also like, we gotta get Cisco on here, else we might have this like weird like missing diamond kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Zombies Ate My Neighbors. That was when I got a Sega Genesis. The first games I got, other than the 2 that came with it, which were Wimbledon and Greatest Heavyweights, is that I got Cool Spot, Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Cool
Spot,
Spot.
fucking
Yeah.
7-Eleven.
I almost
Yeah.
put,
7 Up. 7 Up.
7-Up.
I almost put Cool Spot on my list because it's that damn good.
Yeah, that's a good game.
But it was Zombies Ate My Neighbors and the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers won the fighting game.
Yeah.
And Zombies Ate My Neighbors, it is really like such a great introduction to like survival horror. Because before Resident Evil, that's survival horror. That game, when we were kids, it was so scary. It was almost like you didn't want to play it at night.
Yeah.
Especially when you got to like the chainsaw guy levels and the hedge maze.
A lot of levels. And for some reason, you know what that game kind of reminds me of movie-wise? Out of all the zombie movies out there, that game and Zombieland. For some reason, I just watched Zombieland a couple days ago.
That reminds you kind of that?
And it reminded me of that for some reason. I know it's not as crazy.
doesn't-
Like, you don't go to castles and shit in Zombieland, the movie, but like, for some reason, I watched Zombieland, I played Zombies, and I was like, you know, I feel like the makers of this movie might have played this game a little bit.
I can kind of see that, maybe.
It's just
The one that makes Zombies Ate My Neighbors so cool is not only is there just zombies in it, it's like every kind of horror sci-fi monster you can think of. I mean, they got like the Blob in there.
you can thank
They
George
got
Lucas for doing that.
the
I think that was his
creature.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that game I think was
It was
it
LucasArts.
was made by LucasArts and it was produced by Konami.
Okay.
That's how it was.
Yeah.
And it's like you had the Creature from the Black Lagoons.
Yeah.
You had like Killer Dolls, the Chainsaw Jason looking guys.
Yeah.
There were vampires, werewolves. It just had all this stuff.
Yeah. Clones, aliens.
And then too was like the weapon list. I was like, it was so cool because
like
what do you
plates
got?
and forks and
You
shit.
got like
and then you
holy
got a
water
bazooka,
squirt guns,
sodas,
plates.
Pandora's box.
Yeah, you almost kind of had like all these weapons that like if you went to your house and you had to defend against a bunch of monsters.
Yeah.
Excluding a handful of like.
It really sounds like it was kind of like aimed at kids in the
Popsicles.
90s, just because popsicles,
Popsicles.
soda.
Yeah. Tomatoes.
Yeah. You had all these kind of unique things, and some of there's some items in there. It's kind of like, I almost wish that like there was a little bit easier way to select through items, because after a while you start picking up all this shit, and some
Yeah,
of those ones
that's why you just get rid of them.
aren't nearly as good as you always take it like, okay, let me just use the fucking plates.
Was like some monsters are like weak against tomatoes or something like that?
Yeah, I want to say like
some
the
are like
Martians.
some froze it like the popsicles sometimes.
The popsicles would kill the blob things, and then
Yeah.
the ice things would kill that.
You could make another, or maybe not, but because I guess
The Holy Cross would kill the wolves in like one hit.
Maybe if they had, would you guys play it if they made like a new version of this or something?
There is a sequel that came out.
But it wasn't a fan.
Like a modern
fan,
game.
It was a fan. It was a fan game.
No, there's also a fan game where somebody made one called Oh No, More Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Yeah.
That's the fan one, and then there's the sequel, which is the Ghouls. What was it called?
That was for Genesis only, right?
No, it's for the Super Nintendo only.
Mm-hmm.
I'm such a blank on it. It's one of those ones like I didn't notice it until it came out on the Wii, and then I read the description like, oh my god, there's a fucking sequel to Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Yeah.
And then I went out and downloaded it. God, it's called something. Ghoul Patrol. That's what it's called.
Oh, I remember you telling me about
it's one of those ones like it's not bad, but it's just not the same as Zombies Ate My Neighbors. It's it's an interesting game, but it doesn't capture that magic. Apparently, there's actually this game.
If you play that game when you're 10, because sometimes when you're a kid, you're a lot more forgiving. If you played it when you're 10, do you think you would have liked it just as much, or you think you still?
No, because it doesn't play nearly as good. That's the thing, though, is it doesn't play nearly as smooth. It's a little bit different. It's still cool. It's still got the same main characters and still got kind of the horror aspect, but something about it's just. And that one doesn't have Konami in there, so I don't know if that had a big factor in it. Yeah. I know the game was mainly made by LucasArts, but since Konami's not a part of that, maybe that changed it. There's supposed to be a game. I think it came out on Sega Saturn called Herc's Adventures. Yeah. And it plays just like Zombies Ate My Neighbors, but in Greek mythology.
Oh, that's nice.
I read this up somehow, some way. It was like when you fall in the loophole of like Wikipedia and things like that, and you find things that are related. Yeah. But no, Zombies Ate My Neighbors, that is a classic.
I'm glad
both the Genesis and Super Nintendo versions are amazing. Yeah. I kind of like the Genesis one because your like radar and all that stuff just kind of sits there on the side, so you don't have to flip it up and down each time. But
all right, so my number 4. I gotta say this game. I've played this game when I was probably 13, and I just played it again 2 weeks ago. Incredible game. It's Harvest Moon 64.
Ooh, there's another game.
I had to put that game on there because I love the Harvest Moon series, especially the one that came out for N64 and Back to Nature for the PlayStation. Those two put together, those games are just incredible.
Whenever you hear some little kids say Farmville is better, does your fist automatically clench and just...
No, screw any of that online shit. No.
There's something to be said about single-player games.
Yeah, Harvest Moon 64. There's something to say about a game that you can put over... I've put over 300 hours into that particular Harvest Moon game, and you don't kill anything other than fishing and catching a fish and
plants.
And plants.
You can attack the wolf. You can go outside and beat the shit out of him with your axe. I guess that's in the PlayStation one.
Yeah. Other than that, that's it. You can just play through it. It's cool because you've got aspects of The Sims, you can get married and you can build your house and shit. But then you also grow stuff. You can grow fruits and vegetables and raise cows and make money. It teaches you in a weird way. It teaches kids to be self-sufficient.
And it teaches you kind of life skills.
Life skills.
And how to be a part of your town and
how to be a good member of
citizen.
society, a good citizen. Yeah. And I mean, of course, it's not the same as if you're in a city, but people live in small towns. It really teaches you this is how you should act.
Well, that's what it says. It's you work hard. You give gifts. You come to people on their birthday. You buy locally. Yeah. You go to you go to all the events.
Yeah.
Who is the guy? I want to see this.
You go fishing.
Yeah. I know how much you both like this game. I think it's funny. I'm not giving you shit, Spencer. But the other day we were driving through. I think we were driving to Modesto, and no, it's on our way to the Sacramento Comic Con. We were driving through that farmland, and at some point you're thank fuck, I don't live out here. We were driving through Farmington.
but when you look those areas to me, that's see Harvest Moon. That's
if that's how
we lived outside here in Twain Harte and we had a little garden that wasn't that big and it was just made really to support you, not you're trying to support the whole Central Valley.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where I think the difference is. I think once I see a big thing like that, where it's just and you're just living in this totally flat zone, and it's just miserable. Because that's city farming though.
Yeah,
that's not being out in the country.
Who was the girl?
I know. I just
or on a little Japanese island, which was kind of what the game I think is supposed to be like.
Who was the girl you always picked in Harvest Moon 64?
I picked different ones every single time.
Yeah. Who's one you picked the most?
Yeah, I think in the 64 one, what's the girl with the brown hair that works at the bakery?
Ellie.
Yeah, I'd pick Ellie a lot in that one because their personalities change. They look the same, but their personalities all change in the PlayStation one.
Yeah, I always picked Maria, the one with the glasses.
Oh yeah, the library.
The librarian, yeah. Or Karen, because Karen was like the slutty one.
Yeah, Karen was always the slutty. Like the slutty blonde chick that like a lot of times in both games.
Wino.
Yeah, she was like just in the drinking.
Yeah.
There's actually drinking in the game.
Yeah, you can drink beer. You can go to the bar. It's funny. You like have a beer or you have wine. If you drink too much, like he gets all red and he has like his eyes get all circular and like shakes like whoa.
Then you like wake up in your house late.
Yeah, you like wake up late in the house like all hungover and stuff.
I don't know what it is, but
alcoholism's adorable.
Yeah. Drinking in video games is really cool. This goes back to like you probably can do this in Grand Theft Auto 5, but I remember in Grand Theft Auto 4, one of the coolest things in it was you go to the fucking bar,
you get drunk,
drink, and then go fucking driving.
Yeah, it's like
it was one of those ones like I'm like this like something I'd never do in real life. I'm like this is the most amazing thing in a video game.
I was telling there's this guy I used to work with. And I was telling him what that game Fable was like. I was saying you can kind of do anything. I mean, you get to the point where you can go like get drink, go home, and you go out, get totally drunk, go home, beat your wife. Says, I can't do that in real life. I'm so doing that in this game.
Yeah, you wake up in Irishman 64 and you like pull your axe out and like hack. Okay, now I can start my day.
And it's those ones like in this goes back to Fable. You couldn't kill children in Fable though.
You couldn't.
I remember it's like what's like
you could walk up to a kid and punch him in the face, but then the kid would just run off screaming.
Oh, okay, at least you could do that.
But like, as long as I could get a strike a child, that's all I need.
Well, because really,
like, there's a rule.
I never really played Fable, but like the whole selling point of that game was like you could do anything you want,
and you couldn't. All the children.
If you want to adopt a kid from Africa and marry him once they reach 16, you can do it.
It was like Fable itself was a fun game, but it wasn't like amazing. All the kids were in like a like gated community, and you weren't allowed to bring weapons in this gated community, and you couldn't. And in that gated community, you could kick the shit out of people, but you couldn't. You couldn't like kill them though.
That's still pretty cool though.
Yeah.
Okay, Dunigan,
what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Metal Gear Solid 3.
Nice.
Okay.
Metal Gear Solid 3. To me, that one's it's like I'd probably say it's almost on the same line.
Yeah.
It's Twin Snakes, but I think Twin Snakes is just the original story. I think is what keeps me in there more.
Yeah.
Well, just the setting of the game. It's the 60s. You're in a Russian jungle. Just everything about the game is just such a weird mix match. You got like kind of like the typical Metal Gear Solid, kind of a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of sci-fi thrown in there, which just adds to it. I think it's also kind of a real. I like number 2. Number 2 is a good game, but it is such a step up and such kind of an improvement from number 2. Because number 2, you have that 20-minute conversation on the codec with Computer Campbell and Computer Rose saying, "We aren't human. You don't have a choice. You do what we say." For like
suck 20 my balls.
For
suck
20
my balls.
For 20 minutes, and it's just like, what the fuck is this? But
and I'm naked to the top of it. Why am I having this conversation?
Yeah, exactly.
Suck my balls.
Probo Campbell. That's all he wants. And but no, number 3 though, it was just all around. Still made the story a little confusing, explained some things, but overall, just great story, great game, and it was also one of the first times in Metal Gear Solid where, in my opinion, you could go up, kick the shit out of somebody, and survive, but number 3 was one of the ones where I felt like it was kind of the middle ground, where you had the option where you could hide, and you could be very stealthy, or you could just
commando.
You can go Rambo your way through there, even before you even had any real weapons, because you had good enough sneaking options to where you could drag the body into the brush or whatever, then go up behind his buddy and knife him too or whatever. Yeah.
Well, the one thing I like about that game is because the only thing about the older Metal Gear Solid games is the second the guy turns around, you're like, fuck, and he sees you, and I think it's
Dun, 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 dun,
well, the ones like the thing I like about Metal Gear Solid 3 is the guy had to go run and fucking radio it in. And some of the guys in Metal Gear Solid 2 could do that, but the guys that would they would instantly see you. The second they saw you, the alert went on, burn, 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 and you're like, God damn it! Even though I don't seem to have that problem as much as when I was a kid. I seem to have that all the time. Or when you'd accidentally flip the guy over, and you're like, fuck. For Metal Gear Solid 3, I like this. If the guy turned around and saw you, fucking just grab him, spin him around, put your knife in him, and be like, speak. And just the gameplay in that game was awesome. I love the jungle aspect. They kind of threw things like, you had your camouflage. You kind of had to eat in that game. There was at the time period of like where eating was a big thing in games.
Yeah,
I guess
could you eat like the raw fish and stuff too?
Yeah.
Yeah, you grab the snakes and the fish, and pretty much it just gave you health.
I guess I do feel a little hypocritical because it didn't bother me in Metal Gear Solid 3, but it bothered me, I guess. I guess in Metal Gear Solid 3 because you weren't eating to keep up your health, or eating to keep up your stamina, and your stamina your accuracy would drop and all that. But your health,
your healing wouldn't go up very fast.
You'd heal yourself over time. You'd heal yourself.
But if your stamina was low, you wouldn't be able to heal.
Yeah, exactly. So.
And then the other thing that's really cool about that game, that was at a period too where, even though nowadays it doesn't seem to matter as much, but like it was one of the first couple of games that would come out and be like, oh my god, that's a 20-hour long Metal Gear Solid game the first time you play it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Resident Evil 4 came out around the same time, and it was like, oh my god, it's a 20-hour long Resident Evil game the first time you play it. Where like before games were always about 10 hours, give or take, the first time you played it. Unusual, unless it's an RPG. And nowadays, that's kind of what games have kind of gone back to. It's kind of rare to find games that are like 20-plus hour.
Yeah.
Doesn't bother me none too much. I mean,
Gives you more
I actually like the 10-hour long games, give or take more.
You could go back and have more replayability for that.
But yeah.
Okay.
That was a damn good game.
What's your
Okay,
number
we're on number 4, right?
Yep.
My number 4 is Zelda Ocarina of Time.
All right. Zelda Ocarina of Time. Come on. How can we not have Zelda on this list?
I didn't throw it on mine because I knew you guys would have it on yours.
Yeah, see, the ones I found.
Is that your number 4?
It's in my list. I'm not gonna say where.
Okay.
But Ocarina of Time is that game.
It's hands down.
It's one of those games I can't even
Yeah.
talk about it because if you don't know about it, you don't deserve to listen to this podcast. Like honestly,
And I guess it's one of those ones you can always say it's always somebody's first Zelda at some point.
Yeah.
At some point, you could grow up. It's like, in a sense, well, I was gonna say, like, was Zelda 1 your first one? They're like, well, I guess that was the first Zelda I played.
I guess so. Yeah, that was my first too, but
it's
it's
the
like
first one that stuck with you.
But I guess it's one of those ones like, for some people out there, Twilight Princess or even Skyward Sword, or you could even say Link Between Worlds might be somebody's first Zelda game.
Yeah.
Hopefully they will go back and experience Ocarina of Time, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because that one, it's
the greatest.
it's
Zelda
a
game ever.
groundbreaking game beyond anything. It sets up so many games of nowadays.
It's my childhood. That and the next 3 games are my childhood in a nutshell, but that game right there just blows me away every time I play it. Awesome music, awesome gameplay, incredible replay value. I've probably beaten that game at least 50 times. At least 50 times.
I've definitely not beaten it that many times. I've probably beaten it like 8 times.
I've beaten 5 50
But
times.
remember now, it doesn't feel like it belongs in there compared to yours.
Do you have a 3DS, Cisco?
I have the 3DS version.
That one,
I've beaten that one already 8 times.
and I love that one too, because
Yeah.
they just did little things like the graphics are a little bit better.
Yeah.
They added a little bit more animation to it. You can see really far in it, and then I also like how you can kind of put the boots and stuff, so you can equip them really quickly instead of having to go start.
Yep. Yeah, you just quick.
Yeah, you just make it R or something like that, and you can change out really quickly.
Yeah.
Fun little thing I read on Cracks.com. There's actually this wasn't a mod. They actually had footage of it on the article. There was at an earlier point in Zelda when they were making that, they were working on. I'm not sure which one came first. I want to say what came first actually.
Are you talking about the Star Fox part where you can battle the ship? Yeah, the R-Wing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was it was a test thing that they have, and if you use
For
the
Star
Game
Fox,
Genie code on your Star Fox 6 or on your Zelda 64, you can have the R-Wing comes out and you can defend against it's like an enemy. But they use it I think they use it to test to do the lock-on thing in Zelda. I think that's what that was about.
Yeah, they did.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that's a really cool thing though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just.
It's just such a damn good game too, and it's I love one of my other favorite Zelda games is A Link to the Past, the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
It's such a good game, but really what Ocarina of Time does, it takes pretty much A Link to the Past, put in the 3D world. Zelda was something that was that game was made to be 3D.
Yeah.
We've played other games where we all realize that the 3D one's fun, but when it gets down to it, I like my 2D worlds.
Yeah, 3D.
But Zelda was just one of those ones, the second it's almost in 3D, even though Link Between Worlds was awesome and things like
Don't
that.
forget Majora's Mask.
In Majora's Mask, it's
Great
sequel.
game.
And even Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword. They're all just amazing, but Zelda is, to me, just
Zelda,
the
Ocarina of
ultimate
Time,
3D game known to mankind.
Hell, my ringtone is from Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. I mean,
I have 30 songs from all the
Yeah.
Zelda games of mine that can change for different alarms and whatnot.
yeah.
This might piss you off, but one friend of mine, she has her ringtone. It starts off now, hey, listen, and then it cuts into into like I guess like a electro version of like down.
Yeah. All right, so that was number 4, number 3. I forgot.
That was my number 4.
Okay.
Great game, good choice.
Yeah.
So my number 3, we've already talked about this game, but I've got to say it's my favorite Mario game, my Super Mario RPG.
Super Mario. It's just
I love Super Mario RPG. We already talked about it. So
I'll be here in the shame corner.
That's incredible. So
It's
that's
just
number 3. Number 3 for you, Ryan.
Number 3 for me. Super Smash Brothers Melee.
Yes.
Nice.
All right.
that was
Good.
actually
It's
on my
our
honorable
list.
mentions list.
It's on the list. Good.
Super Smash Brothers Melee.
Greatest fighting game.
Brawl. It's been a while since I went back and played Brawl. Still a really good game, but Melee. I remember when I first played it, it was like, I mean, all right. First off, when you played Super Smash Brothers for the 64, it was already like
Mind blowing.
mind blowing.
yeah.
Like I get to play as Mario, Pikachu,
Yeah.
and you could use stars on each other and Pokeballs and
Yeah.
lightsaber.
4 people could play in a fighting game at once.
It was one of those things. I mean, it was all possible because they were all part of the same licensing. But it really sounds like kind of like a 10-year-old's like wet dream. You know,
It really is.
Because
Yeah.
when you're a kid, every so often, like, man, I want there to be a game where you could play as like the Power Rangers and they team up with Sonic the Hedgehog.
They fight the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. You have that, and this was kind of the closest thing you could have to that
all
at that
Nintendo
point in
characters.
time, and it turned out being a really awesome game.
Yep.
Now,
And then you got
Be-
to
I mean,
Melee.
Before we get down to 64 one, when you were a kid, did you think that 007 was going to be in Smash Bros. As one of the lockable characters?
Oh yeah,
No.
the remote, the moat.
Well, because
Come
like
on.
before
The
being
bomb.
a kid and realizing like licensing and all that stuff,
Yeah.
they had items from 007 in it. So that's what
Yeah,
made me
the
like.
very
I
items.
didn't think. I just figured that that's too.
I always wanted to be an unlockable character.
I was like Bond's got to be an unlockable character.
Yeah.
You know what made me kind of bummed is that you know I think
just see Bond kick the shit out of Jigglypuff.
is that because I really wish Joanna Dark was in Melee though because she can never be in Melee now. Yeah, that's a sad thing.
Oh yeah, that's right.
She's
And no
Xbox,
one gives.
yeah.
And no one gave a. I bought Perfect Dark Zero, and no one gave a fuck about that game. That,
That
game
game
is so forgotten.
Is 99 cents at GameStop right now.
Yes.
I saw it there. It's not like it was a bad
It
game.
wasn't like a bad game. But
It wasn't
very.
Perfect Dark the original
Mm-hmm.
because Perfect Dark was really the sequel to GoldenEye.
Yeah.
It sounds weird, but it's the same mechanics, same team.
Same everything, just
But
a
you
little
know
more scarier.
Well, you know what happened though? Is like the difference is because why Perfect Dark Zero is not the same though. Is because the guys that made Perfect Dark and GoldenEye, they went on to make Time Splitters.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason.
There you go. And that's a great game. That should be on my own.
I know that's actually somebody
Yeah.
will have to
That's
do
on
just
the
top
long
10
list.
GameCube games.
Yeah.
But then once you got Smash Bros. 1, really amazing. But then when you jumped over to the GameCube one, it was such a jump. And it wasn't like, Brawl. I can go over to a friend's house and still play Brawl every so often. We don't do it as much, but
And really,
Before-
technically,
Yeah.
Brawl's probably the better game when you really sum it all up. But it just doesn't have. It didn't
It
have the
didn't-
effect that Melee
It
does.
doesn't-
It wasn't groundbreaking.
and I know Brawl is the one where it had that thing that you thought you'd never see, aside from fucking Olympics, Sonic and Mario socking the shit out of each
With
other.
Snake in there too to
Yeah.
top it off.
Yeah, so that is one of the ones like, holy shit, this actually happened. I still love Brawl, don't get me wrong. I probably, in all honesty, I probably played Brawl more in the last recent years. But Melee was one of those games, as long as it was out, until Brawl came out, you would still be playing Melee at a friend's house.
Yeah.
You
well,
would
now,
not
sadly
really-
enough, I don't think I've ever played Melee ever since Brawl came out.
Yeah.
I have.
I played a little bit, not as much, but yeah.
No.
Maybe,
Wait, you said you haven't played Melee?
since Brawl came out.
No, we played Melee like about a month ago. At your
played
house.
Brawl.
We played Brawl.
I thought we played Melee.
No, I played Brawl.
That was
Oh,
Brawl.
okay.
The only time I
played-
feel like
played
you play
but-
Melee is like if you went to some kid's house who didn't have Brawl yet and be like,
Yeah.
oh, I guess. But there's nothing wrong. I love Melee because it has some
Yeah.
characters in it that you don't have in Brawl, and Mario's not fucked up.
I swear I played Melee like maybe a year ago. I think about a year ago I played it somewhere.
Mm-hmm. I played it at some point, like within the last 2 years, I played Melee. And don't get me wrong, I still love Brawl, but it didn't have that kick, that punch that Melee had.
Melee, and it was just the thing too. It's like that game. Like if you look at my thing, it's like I have like 180 plus hours on. And that's just my file. Like think of all the other files you play when you go to your friend's house. That was just my own.
Yeah.
I put so much time into that game. You got so much unlockables, and one thing I like about that game is, as I complain about Street Fighter being like gives you nothing really to do when you're a single player. Smash Bros is the exact opposite. It gives you so much shit to do as a single player.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and even Brawl, it had a lot of single player stuff into it too.
What's the
Now, did
new
Melee
one?
have a story mode in it though?
Melee didn't have a story mode.
That was just Brawl, right?
That was just Brawl.
Okay.
Yeah.
What what's the new one coming out for the 3DS and Wii U called?
I think it's just called Super Smash Bros. Wii U and Super Smash Bros. 3DS. They'll probably have a catchier name when it comes out, but
Yeah.
what's that? I can't wait.
If I
for
have a
that.
Wii U by that point, I'll have it on both systems.
The upside that's like it doesn't matter what you have, at least you can get it for something.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the game's supposed to be
Same game.
no, it's supposed to be actually slightly different.
Well,
I
that's
think
cool. It gives you reason.
I think this is kind of cool thing. On the 3DS, all the levels are supposed to be handheld like Game Boy levels, and on the Wii U, it's supposed to be all like console levels.
Really.
So like on like the Wii U, you'll play like Skyward Sword and maybe Ocarina of Time levels.
Yeah.
Where like on the 3DS, you'd play like Link Between Worlds and maybe like the Spirit Tracks, or you know like maybe Mario 3DS Land.
You play the Pikmin level. There's just nothing there. It's just blank.
Pikmin after
Pikmin.
like you know,
Yeah.
Pikmin Holocaust.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just there's something about it. You know, it was I think it's like one of the few games that you could come over, all your buddies can play. The nice thing about Melee too is remember ever doing this too when you had like 15 friends in the room is you could do tournament mode,
Yep.
which is fucking badass. That was like
Yeah.
one of my favorite
I
things.
love
Of
that.
it.
I had that maybe the first 2 months of Brawl, and then maybe just because we got older, I don't know. But I remember the first 2 months of Brawl, I remember that. But after Melee, it was kind of like,
Well, I think Brawl, it wasn't that we got older. This is what happened. Less people started coming over to the house to play video games.
Yeah.
Because now we kind of live in the age where everybody plays online. It's kind of weird for people to come over to each other's houses, strangely enough.
Yeah.
So I think that those days just kind of passed by the time Brawl came out.
Yeah.
You know? But I mean, you know, I remember Melee too. It was the other really big game in high school to play. Like, because we had this thing called Technology Club.
oh,
And all it was just a bunch of kids in there playing either Smash Brothers Melee or Halo.
Yeah.
pretty much.
Sometimes
And there was
some
the
Soul
one kid-
Calibur.
When we talked with this kid a few times,
The Rooster.
the fucking Rooster.
I thought you were gonna talk about Monster Battle.
Oh, we can talk about Monster Battle too, but let's talk
Yeah,
about
he
let's
was part
refresh
of the
the
club,
Rooster.
too.
Let's refresh the Rooster. This really scrawny kid, huge Adam's apple, bobbly neck,
He had
wide
kind of like
eyes.
this pompadour thing that made him look like he had like a rooster's like.
It wasn't pompadour like styled. His hair
It was just. It was like
stood
kind of
up.
combed back and it kind of popped up as it
Rooster
went.
Boy, yeah. I remember Rooster
Yeah,
Boy.
and he like almost even though roosterish, almost lizard-like at the exact same time.
Yeah.
You know, and
He had a
he's one of
high
those
pitched,
guys
annoying voice who would
he
always kind of like
complain about something.
His whole point in life was bitching about things.
Yeah.
Soul Calibur is a butt mashing game. Smash Brothers is stupid if you use items, you know.
And he's like, you only play as Samus on Final Destination, only level.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was dumb.
That was one. That's one thing. That sort of ruined Melee for a bit for me. Not like ruined it, but it was like I kind of hate playing with people.
You
and
hear
it's
his voice when you play like, "What?"
yeah. Well, that
Final
was like,
Destination's the only one you play. What?
it was like when people want to play Smash Bros. And it's like you don't want to play with items and you only want to play in Final Destination. It's just kind of like
It's dumb.
I feel like half the fun of Smash Brothers.
What the
It's
items?
avoiding death.
It was like it's the items and like kind of like the level itself being a dangerous thing. It's like it's sort of like a zombie apocalypse. You know what I mean? The zombies aren't your only fear. You know, you have all these other things. And by doing like I can see if you really want to do a real serious tournament, I can see doing Final Destination no items.
Yeah.
But for general play, it's like give me a fucking break.
Don't be a bitch about it. Yeah.
What's your number? Number 3.
My number 3 is Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
There you go. I knew you were gonna have this somewhere. Okay.
I was waiting for the Castlevania name.
Yeah.
And there's so many great Castlevania games, but I really will. I'll pull the Symphony of the Night one. That is, I think, it's the pinnacle Castlevania game.
That game is incredible. I mean, I'm not a Castlevania fan, but I'm a fan of that game.
Well, it's so funny because there's so many people that they love Symphony of the Night. They have, I know so many people that have that one. They don't always have all the other Castlevania games, but a lot of people got that.
Yeah.
I own that game over so many times. I have it on PlayStation. I have it on Sega Saturn. I have it on PSP. I downloaded it on my Xbox.
Yeah.
I have it from your PlayStation 3.
Uh-huh.
I have so many versions of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, no matter what, I love that game. And it's like, it's an RPG. It plays kind of like Metroid, where you get to kind of walk around to your areas. And once you get certain items, that's how you can go farther in certain directions and whatnot.
Yeah.
And you go back and forth, kind of backtracking. But it was, the graphics, the music, there's just such an iconicness to it. It was the first time where you play as Alucard as the main character.
Yeah.
Because you can play as him in number 3, but This one is you use the main character in it.
You got to level up. You got to.
Yeah, you got to level up. The leveling up thing's so cool, and that's something that they take that out of a lot of games. Like a lot of the recent Castlevania games kind of took that away. There was a great run of them on kind of Game Boy Advance and DS especially.
Yeah.
Where they played just like Symphony of the Night. They just did the same thing, tweaked some things a little bit differently, but it was great. But a lot of the console ones, I don't know why they always get rid of the RPG element.
I don't know.
People just don't like that. Like,
pisses me off.
I don't know why. And I think that's one of the greatest. Really, every game on the planet could have the RPG element in it.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. What's wrong with being able to level up, unlock things,
It
get
makes
stronger?
games worth playing again, honestly.
I think about it. It's like
I think even sports games would be fun.
Yeah, even sports games is cool if you and some of them you can too because you kind of like your
add
player
to your
stats go up
stuff,
and that's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Castlevania is just that one. I love Bloodlines. I love Lament of Innocence. There's a bunch of other ones in between.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's the pinnacle one.
Yeah. All right, are we going to number 2 now?
What's your number 2?
Okay, this was a struggle for me. I really had a fight between these two for a while. But I gotta say my number 2 is Final Fantasy VIII.
Oh, that's my number 2.
That game... Okay, I said, like, my childhood... that's like 78% of my childhood, and the other two games are like the rest of that, but that game right there... I just played it a week ago and beat it. I had a Final Fantasy kick a little while ago.
Wasn't that like a month ago?
Yeah, about a month. I can't remember time these days. About a month ago. But
when you get old, it all starts to run together.
Yeah, but that Final Fantasy
It's
VIII.
older games too.
My favorite Final Fantasy. I love the Final Fantasy series. They're incredible. Don't worry, 7's in my honorable mentions, but 8 is just.
To me, 8's the better one. I like 8 more than I like 7. I like 7 a lot, and it's a damn good game. But 8 to me is like, one, it has the perfect system in it. I love the junction system. That's better than any Final Fantasy thing ever.
Amazing characters,
the
amazing
characters,
story.
all the characters are great, and they don't overload you with characters. That's what I like.
Yeah.
They just give you the 6 main characters, and you kind of get Laguna's posse, and that's about it.
And that's about it. Yeah, and it's a long game. The leveling up system's perfect in that game. It doesn't take forever to level up. You can level up in a day if you wanted to.
Yeah, it's like you don't put nearly as much work in it. I like the story a lot.
Yeah, the
GFs
are awesome.
The GFs were really cool. The way they did them in that one,
yeah.
It made them kind of a little bit more part. Instead of just being like it's just a summon that you just summon whenever. And in 7, I never use the summons really unless it's Knights of the Round.
In 8, I really don't even use the summons either. But just
I never do either. Yeah,
cool because there are different abilities that they had.
Well, because my favorite thing, this is what I like in an RPG, and it sounds so weird because I guess most people in RPGs they like the magic and they like summoning and they like this. No. I want 3 guys that all kick ass.
Yeah,
and all they do is attack. And Final Fantasy VIII gave me that because it's like I never had to use magic ever. I never had to use my GFs if I never really wanted to use them. I like making my characters have the most amount of
limit breaks is what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I love, and that's what 8 gave me. Because that was the downfall of 9. 9's still a good game. I like the story. I like the look of it. I like all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But I hate when there's characters. It's like Vivi. It's like, why can't he just do damage? Do I always have to use magic with him? Really?
It's don't make him
or
a certain
even
character type. It's
what's her name? Princess Garnet. It's like, does she always have to just use white magic? Because if I swing, is she always just gonna do 15 damage no matter what level she gets to?
Make him universal. Come on.
Yeah, and it's that's where games like The Lost Odyssey, I mentioned it before, and that's made by the same guy who made Final Fantasy 1 through 9.
Yeah.
But once again, I just don't like when you have to go I have to use fucking mages. It's almost like I don't want to use the bitch characters. I want to use I want to use.
I just want 3 Arnold Schwarzeneggers.
I just want 3 Arnold Schwarzeneggers. And that's why I like games like Final Fantasy V. And kind of like tactics where you can kind of choose whatever you want to be.
Yeah.
That works for me. Let me at least choose. If I want to make Vivi back into a warrior, let me do that.
Yeah, exactly.
10-2 was like that. I love how you could choose what you wanted.
Now I never played a whole lot of Final Fantasy. I played a little bit of 10. Now
even 10 you could do that though. At least you could still.
Would you guys, if they came out and said we're gonna make Final Fantasy VIII Part 2, because we're doing Part 2s and Part 3s other games now, would you guys be up for that, or would you be like, I don't know?
I just want a full remake of the game.
I would go with whatever.
I'd be fine with that too, but I just want a full graphic remake.
All right,
I kind of like
it plays like Final Fantasy VIII Part 2, but plays like Crisis Core.
Oh, that's
because that was kind of the thing. Crisis Core is a really cool game, but it's one of those ones I hate the runaround thing. It's just, I'm sick and tired of the runaround thing, and it's one of those ones I'm almost getting to the point where it's like, fuck you, I don't want to play the game if you have to make me run around. Yeah. Now I did like Crisis Core, but I think it's one of those ones. If that game, say if it wasn't a Final Fantasy VII game,
I wouldn't.
I don't think I would have cared anything about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd
play the game. But I know I wouldn't like it very much probably. I just want complete reboot of Final Fantasy VIII. That's what I want.
And just keep it a traditional RPG. It's just
and of course 7.
I'm sick and tired of the runaround. I'm fine with games like, okay, because Castlevania, you run around and you level up in that, but it's a platform game.
Yeah.
Fallout, you run around, you level up, but it's a shooting game. You know what I mean? Like, that's different.
Yeah.
RPG, when you're supposed to be playing a traditional RPG, let the character stand there and attack. I think, you know what it is? Because people for years that never played RPGs always said, like, why do they just stand still?
Yeah, it's something I will.
That was always the biggest complaint that people that never played RPGs. Which, once again, people that never played RPGs, and that's what they listen to.
And I'm not one of those people. I've never played an RPG. I just, ironically, of all RPGs I didn't play a whole lot of. I just never really played a whole lot of Final Fantasy.
You played Pokemon, though.
I know. I played Pokemon. I played like the Paper Mario games. The Kid-Ear games. I played Suikoden. I really like Suikoden a lot. I played those ones.
You know, it's just one of those ones like, and I love, Final Fantasy VIII. I just love that game. It's the story, and it probably is one of those ones like, maybe those stories don't stick with you nearly as much if you're not like at that age range. Because there's something about like when you're between about the age like 10 to maybe like 18.
Yeah.
Things make almost like a really bigger difference to you because I think it's your first time really exploring these big worlds. And 8 too is like, was right when the graphics started getting really fucking good.
Yep.
Somebody might go back and look at it, but like, no. Look at Final Fantasy VII, then look at 8. There's a big fucking difference.
There's a big jump, yeah.
I mean, and then they had the pre-rendered backgrounds like Resident Evil and stuff.
Yeah.
So like it looked like you were in a real world, you know. I mean, obviously your characters were pixelated, but still, it felt very real. And you know, another thing that's too is like this is something else I think it's lost in RPGs nowadays is I hate voiceovers in RPGs.
Yeah.
That is another thing. It's such a when I played Lost Odyssey, I'm sadly to go with like this because it's made by a guy I really appreciate, and I think it's good that he's out there doing his own thing and he's staying away from Square. But it's like I had to make it. I just changed it to Japanese. I was like, nope, I don't want it American. I just, make it Japanese, then I can't understand it, and I'll just read it.
Yeah.
You know? But Final Fantasy VIII, damn good game.
Yep.
Damn good. Best PlayStation game ever.
Best PlayStation game. Best.
I contemplated between that being my number one, but I thought I'd choose something a little bit more unique.
Best turn-based RPG ever. Yeah.
Ryan, what's your number 2?
Hey, my number 2. My number 2 happens to be Sonic 2.
Damn.
All right. There we go.
I had that on my honorable mention still.
Yeah.
Sonic 2.
Because I was like,
Yeah, like Ryan's going to mention Sonic in there.
I thought Ryan might mention it. I was like, if not, I got
I figured it was too, so I was like, I'm just going to leave that for Ryan.
Because it's one of those ones, Sonic 2 is just such a good game.
Yeah, if there's any game that can get...
It's hard to say what's amazing about it just because it's so simple, yet there's no real... I mean, Sonic 1, I love Sonic 1, but it is, of the original 4, or I guess original 3, because I guess Knuckles and Sonic 3
It's technically the same game, they couldn't fit it on one card.
It's like Guns N' Roses Use Your Illusion. So that's kind of what it is.
One album. They just wanted to get a little extra money out.
Yeah, so pretty much... But I guess of the original 4 or 3, however you look at it, Sonic 1 is the harder one to play just because...
There's no spin dash.
The spin dash makes such a difference.
Even though the upside, though, is we get the spin dash like in the DS one, and some of the newer ones have it in there, which is smart.
And don't ask me why, but it is one of those things. Seeing Sonic run alone, it just... After seeing Tails, for whatever reason, if you go back and play Sonic running alone, it just feels weird now. You kind of want Tails, even though he's dragging ass and like always getting killed... You kind of want Tails.
It's just kind of he's kind of your buddy, you know. And that's one thing too. It's like when I play Sonic and Knuckles, I always like to play it from Sonic 3 on. Put the cartridges together because then you can have Tails with you. Because when you play Sonic and Knuckles, you don't get Tails, but if you play it from Sonic 3 on, you get Tails the whole way through.
Yeah.
And really, Sonic 3, I love that game. It's not that far off. I mean, it's only off by a tad bit. Same Sonic and Knuckles.
It is the most
Sonic 2. I mean, I'm gonna say probably the main reason I love it so much is it was the first Sonic I ever got. It played the smoothest. Great music. Straight enough, though, the graphics are actually better in the first one, though. I remember as a kid going, like, why are the graphics better in the first one than they are in the second one?
I've seen that too, yeah.
You know? Sonic CD, I guess, that's technically the other, if you want to say the original 4, or even 5, that's the other one. And
that's still really good.
Sonic CD is a damn good one, too, but they didn't have Tails yet, because I think that game
that doesn't really, I think the game came out after 2, but Tails just wasn't in it.
Because I think it came out in 93.
It
but
came out 2 and 3.
They probably they were working on it like at the same time as number 2. And
they're using
put Tails in this one. If people don't like him, at least CD won't have him.
Yeah, where they're using the sprites from Sonic 1.
Yeah.
That was that Sonic.
And it has some other animations in it and then some of the 3D stuff.
No, it's
and the CD soundtrack.
And like the Sonic, Sonic 2, it's one of those games just like, not saying like, it's not a good game and Tails not in it, not saying that. It's just one of those things that he adds to it. And plus, I think that's just the most solid one. Because even though Sonic 3 is really good, some of the levels don't feel like there is a moment or two where you hit a wall suddenly, or
it's not nearly as perfect.
It's where 2 feels very fluid. There doesn't seem to be as much, except casino levels. The casino levels, just take those out of fucking Sonic games.
You know what, too? This is kind of a weird thing, but play Red Hot Chili Peppers, Blood, Sex, Sugar Magic,
and play Sonic.
Play Sonic 2, and if you line them up together, you can beat the game by the time the album ends. It's fucking weird. And it like fits so perfect that every soundtrack. I used to do that every day at high school. I'd blast that album like in class, and then I'd play fucking Sonic 2.
Yeah.
It's like Pink Floyd and like Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, it's weird, but like play Sonic 2 with that Red Hot Chili Peppers album.
Well, it actually fits. You
actually probably beat Sonic a little bit earlier because that album's pretty fucking long. But it's like an hour and a half.
But it fits that.
But it fits the vibe so well. Same time period and stuff.
I just remember seeing like Sonic just go through loops like Blood Sugar Baby,
Blood
Sex Magic. I was hearing that.
Yeah. But Sonic 2, that is. Strange enough, I knew I was hoping Brian was going to put that in a list, so I put it on the honorable mentions. And sometimes it's kind of hard to compare a game like Sonic 2 to like Final Fantasy. It's really weird because like I know that like they both give me just as good feelings, but it's like
it's just
so hard to like
it's a giant and a molehill.
Sonic 2 is like an hour-long game. Final Fantasy 8 is like a 40-hour-long game.
Yeah.
So sometimes like I don't know what it is, like the time sort of makes it feel like there's more. Yet I don't know. It's such a weird concept.
Yep. That's
why RPGs always seem to like take the top slots.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's your number 2?
My number 2 was Final Fantasy 8.
Okay.
What is your number 1?
All right, so we're on our final round here. Our number 1 round. Okay. So I can't really say too much about it because we already said it, but
I already forgot.
I've got to say my favorite game of all time is Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't say much about it then. I won't say much about it now because it just needs no introduction.
It's just to me, and I always think it's like one of those ones. It doesn't have to be necessarily like it's like Star Wars. It doesn't have to be your favorite movie of all time personally. Yeah. But when you add up all of it to like you add up Star Wars to every other movie, there's no way you can't say that. No, Star Wars is probably the number 1 movie of all time. Think of what it did. Yeah. Think of how much it changed. Think of the movie itself, how good it is, and all the stuff in it, and like what we have because of it. That's like what Ocarina of Time is.
Yeah.
No matter what, it's like think of what it did, what it became, how it helped out so many things.
Yeah.
And to top it off, it still holds up like it's a brand new thing today.
Yeah.
That's how good it is.
Right.
My favorite game of all time is Super Mario World for the SNES.
That's a great one.
That one right there, it's kind of like, what can you really say about it? And I know a lot of people are like, there's better games that have come out since then.
Not Mario-wise. Mario
I don't know about Mario.
Close,
Mario 64 is probably the closest you get to that.
Damn, I wanted to put that on if I had a top 15, that would have been on there.
I know. Well, but at first we started off a top 5, and I called it Brian. I was like, let's just do a top 10. Like, there's no fucking way.
Yeah. We were afraid we were going to go too long, but no, I don't think we have. So,
no, we really haven't.
Super Mario World, this isn't the only reason, but it was also probably the first game I ever played. And it's something, like, sometimes people say, just be critical, be real about it, but at the same time, it's just kind of hard. You can't really take that away. You can't really take that out of your mind. There's sometimes you can kind of go back and watch a movie and say, all right.
The Power Rangers movie wasn't the greatest movie.
Yeah.
But
it's still a good movie.
But you still get a warm, fuzzy feeling when you watch it. Power Rangers movie, not that great of a movie. But I still get a warm, fuzzy feeling when I watch it.
Takes you back. Yeah.
Super Mario World, it's a game where I do get that warm, fuzzy feeling, but at the same time, very solid, very well-made game. Just takes me back. I never get bored of playing it.
Yeah.
So. No, and I beat that game not too long ago because I was kind of playing. I was on like a little bit of a Mario binge, I guess, 8 months ago. I played that game and then I played Mario RPG again.
Yeah.
And I just went out and got every fucking star, every secret world, and it's just like there's nothing wrong with that game. It is so good. It is. It's the best Mario platform game by far.
Yep.
Mario 3 is still pretty damn cool too, but I like Mario World the most. Plays the smoothest. I love the graphics. I like the music. I like having Yoshi. You know. Damn good game.
And what's your number
My
one?
number 1 game, I want to pick something to be kind of a unique game, but I want to say this because it's one of my favorite games ever, is Chrono Trigger for the Super Nintendo.
Okay, there we go. It's on there.
Yeah, you knew that was going to be. You knew it was going to be somewhere.
It's on there. Good.
But I was like, I was confident. I'm like, probably Final Fantasy VIII is my ultimate favorite game, but I was like, I want to just have that unique number 1.
It would be different, man.
It would be different.
Yeah.
Chrono Trigger, though, is my favorite Super Nintendo game.
Love that game.
It is, because what that game is like, it is really the forerunner to 7 and 8 when he gets down to it.
Yeah.
Because, Final Fantasy, 4, 5, and 6, they kind of have that top-down view. The characters are all kind of short and squatty.
Yeah.
And, you do what you can with the graphics. Where Chrono Trigger, you had Akira, what's his last name from Dragon Ball Z?
Akira Toriyama.
Toriyama, yeah. He does all the character designs, so they all look like Dragon Ball Z characters, which is badass already.
Yeah.
And that was already like an instant sell, too.
Yep.
I love the way it plays. It has, it uses the 3-character style, not 4, not 5, 3 at a time.
Yep.
I think there's 7 characters in total, so you're not overloaded with characters.
Mm-hmm.
And even though that one does kind of have, the characters are kind of different. Like, some characters are stronger than others.
Yeah.
But it never forces you to use magic. You can use it if you want.
Yep.
They use it more like an ability, and you can kind of, team up with a lot of your magic attacks anyways.
Go to the future.
And they're quicker, and then on top of it, you go through
the
time.
past,
You go to prehistoric ages. You go to the future.
Yeah.
You go to a time period back where it was actually the highest point of civilization,
Yeah.
and then the Ice Age happened afterwards.
Yeah.
There's such a cool story. The gameplay's amazing.
Yeah.
I just love that one. And then the DS version is pretty darn sweet.
Yeah, I have the DS version.
The bonus stuff in it kind of is like one of those ones it's almost like it's cool that it's there. I mean, you can't really complain when they give you more, but it is kind of like,
Would someone who didn't grow up with it, if I got it for the DS, would I enjoy it, you think?
you would probably,
you
as
would.
long as you enjoy RPGs, it holds up really well for an older one.
I didn't play it for the first time until
Super
7
Nintendo.
years ago. 7 or 8 years ago, and I loved it.
You guys ever play Chrono Cross?
I have Chrono Cross, and I've started a couple of times.
Yeah.
It is on my top 5 list of this game I have to beat. I have to beat this game at some point.
Is there any real connection to it other than time travel, or?
I think there's a slight connection to it. I'm not
sure.
No one looks...
not exactly. Let's just say that.
Mm-hmm.
And Chrono Cross, there's a lot of people I've met that love. They play every RPG known to mankind, and Chrono Cross is lots of times people's number 1 favorite game.
Yeah.
It is lots of times up there, and it's a great game. And a lot of times when I talk about RPGs and go I can't find a good one anymore, I always kind of go you know what I can do though? I can always go back to PlayStation 1, and that's where all the pinnacle games are.
Yeah.
I can go back. I can play Chrono Cross.
I can go black.
I can go back.
Not come back.
Yeah.
I can go back and I can play Chrono Cross. I can play Legend of Dragoon. I could always play Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
I can play Xenogears. I could play Wild Arms. The PlayStation still has me covered,
Mm-hmm.
But Chrono Trigger, that's my number 1.
You want to go around our honorable mentions?
Yeah, how about you? Do you have any honorable mentions?
I have a few honorable mentions. The first one I gotta say right off the bat is Final Fantasy VII, because if this list could be
that is my number 1 on my honorable mentions. Final Fantasy VII.
If this game could be if it could be multiple games in one series, that would be in my top 3.
Yeah.
But so
and my only fear is that since if we had multiple games, you would have had 3 Marios and 3 Zeldas and 3 Final Fantasy, and then next thing you know, your list would have already been made.
So Final Fantasy VII, number 1 honorable mention. Number 2 is on Ryan's list, Fallout 3, because that's my favorite of the newer games.
Mm-hmm.
Love that game. And then I have a third honorable mention. And this game, I have to say it just because every time I play it, there's just something special about it, and that's Jurassic Park for the Super Nintendo.
Oh, that is a damn good game.
Because that game, Jurassic Park's my favorite movie of all time, and that game, I think I rented that game more than any other game I've ever rented.
Ever, yeah.
From the video scene in Twain I rented that game 20 times.
The kids this day and age is going to sound weird, oh yeah, I rented a game. Where it's
a bunch of times.
A bunch of times where it's that was what you had when you were a kid. You're oh yeah, $5 to rent this thing. Now it's kind of kids wait, you rented it? You didn't just go out and buy it? You didn't download it? Yeah. That's the time.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's just one of those ones too. It's just that's what you did. And rental stores were really close back then. Nowadays, even a Redbox is almost too far away. It's it's not worth the price.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna cost me $5 to go rent one movie or one game.
Yeah.
Even though the games I think are always worth it.
I'm not sure how much kids still rent. I just don't think they do. I don't know any kids that really rent.
Well,
anymore.
nowadays with the internet and the Steam boxing and all this stuff,
they're probably also occupied on their parents' phone playing whatever $1.50 game they can
or free ones that want to charge you every fucking 10 seconds you play the game or every time you lose.
Yeah.
But is that all your honorable mentions?
Well, I mean, Super Mario 3. I have to say that one. But
gotta say Super Mario Bros. 3.
Okay. Ryan?
I don't really have a set list, but
it's more like anything you kind of wish.
You guys said, pretty much a lot of games you guys mentioned, Super Mario Brothers 3, for instance, probably the original Pokemon, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2 definitely would
be on I would agree, because that was my first Dreamcast game. That had a big impact on me.
Mario Kart series.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
One that this is gonna be a little bit more weird. I'm not sure if you guys ever liked this game series, but I really liked. One of them almost made it to the number 10, but the Jack and Daxter franchise, I always liked those.
You know,
ones.
I never played Jack.
Played them either.
By the time Jack and Daxter came out, I was kind of like at that age where it's just like, I don't play kids games. Not like in a douchey way, but it kind of like.
Yeah.
By that point, I was playing Grand Theft Auto and Metal Gear Solid. And
Well, number 2 was kind of tiptoeing. It wasn't really like, I'm not going to say it was like super mature or anything, but it was kind of tiptoeing. They were trying to give it a darker story. There was actually a little bit of swearing in the game here and there. But back when you were a kid, you could see a character could say "damn" and I'm like, oh, this is so mature.
I remember it was by that point, strange enough, unless it was Nintendo. Because Nintendo always I don't know, I look at Mario and I'm like, that's a fucking adult game as it gets. But it's not, but that's how it feels. Same as Zelda. I don't think of them as being I look at Link and Snake and I just I can't tell the difference.
One of something I really wish existed.
I can't tell the difference.
One of something I really wish existed. Mm-hmm. This isn't really an honorable mention. It's just something I wish existed. You just reminded me though. I wish they came out with the movie adaptation game to the Super Mario Brothers.
I would love that.
The way the game looked itself. I know this is kind of if I made it, but it's not gonna fucking happen. But who cares? There was the
make it fucking 20 years later.
Maybe a fan out there made it, but it has the same design and feel to say Super Mario World,
but it just has the graphics and the look of the movie.
It has the looks of the movie.
Jump on the giant Goombas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean the characters maybe the Goombas their heads would resemble maybe kind of the way a Goomba would look in the game, but it's just green on top of the big body or whatever.
Yeah.
Or if you get the fire flower, you hit the box, it's the flamethrower, but it works the same way. Something like that.
Now, have you ever played the Street Fighter the movie game?
I've seen it.
I have that game.
And pretty much, what that one is it plays just like Street Fighter. Not nearly as smooth, but it plays like it. But you have digitized versions of they're probably actors, but dressed up in the movie.
Yeah, they were rolling on the Mortal Kombat thing.
It looks like Mortal Kombat, but it plays like Street Fighter. But
I'm thinking more I'd take that even. I'd take the digitized versions of Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo, but I'm talking more they look just kind of Mario World versions of the guys from the movie.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I know what you mean, but I'm just saying that mine's just it's kind of similar to what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Not exactly.
Just know that would have happened,
That'd be badass. Okay, other than I'll just do the quick mention of the ones that we already talked about: Final Fantasy VII, Sonic 2, Super Smash Bros. Melee. And then the other couple that I had is I had Jurassic Park Rampage Edition.
Yes.
To me, that was is Jurassic Park being my favorite movie too? I had until I played the Super Nintendo one, I had the Genesis one. And Rampage, there was the first Jurassic Park one, which is good, but Rampage Edition's fucking amazing.
It's an incredible game.
I hum the songs from that game all the time.
Yeah, that game was great.
Is the one where you're playing Grant? It's Contra, kind of.
Yeah, kind of that. No, you're thinking of.
You're thinking of
Chaos Continues.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's another honorable mention. All the Jurassic Park games for Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo.
They're all
honorable mentions because the first one's got great music too.
Actually, that's probably the best song out of all of them. Not the best game, but it's the best song.
I remember when Grant would die in the Sega Genesis one. It'd be this god awful. You guys remember that?
He'd be
He fell off a cliff or something.
Yeah. And the raptor.
And then here's two other ones that I wanted to say. One was Super Metroid. I really like that game a lot.
Oh, okay.
Because I was kind of I don't have a fucking Metroid game on my list. And I was if I'm going to put one on there, I guess I'll put Super Metroid. It's between that and Metroid Prime.
Yeah.
They're both kind of as I think Metroid translated to 3D just as well as Sonic and Zelda did. But I'm going to go with the Super Nintendo one, though. That one just awesome. I mean, that's what created, in a sense, Symphony of the Night. So many things. And what I like about Metroid, it's kind of like Zelda. You run around, you get items, you get, instead of getting hearts, you get energy capsules, but you're kind of alone. It's in this desolate area. It's got great music, great action. And then one more I have to say, and it's I don't have a specific one, but the Gears of War franchise.
Oh, there you go.
That's my favorite video game of the last generation, I guess.
Mm-hmm. That's a really awesome
By far.
series.
That's the thing I like the most. And I'm not even the biggest first-person shooter fan. I like them, but Gears of War, though, is just something about it. I think it was the characters and the story that really sold me onto it.
Yeah.
And then it topped it off.
It was like a 80s action movie.
That's what it's like. It's like you're watching Stallone and Arnold go at it,
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just the characters and the stories what sold to me. Because a lot of times it's like, gameplay, don't get me wrong, the gameplay's awesome in it, but that's not, if you don't have cool characters and story, then
Yeah.
you can bypass it, but I love those Gears of War. And that's something I've put in. Between 1 through 4 of Gears of War so far, I've probably put in close to 500 hours in all those games. A lot of fucking time. But yeah,
All right.
that's our top 10 countdown of our favorite games of the moment. Tune in next week for our next one. Yeah.
Yes.
But make sure to check out oldmanorange.com for all kinds of extra videos, animations, podcasts, comics, and so on of ours.
Be sure to vote for premarital death. Is that thing still going on?
Yeah, still vote for premarital death.
Yeah, check that
Go
band
on
out.
to
Cool
like the
band.
Vans Warped Tour Battle of the Bands thing.
Yep.
You can find a link on our webpage for it. But look them up. Check out their music. If you don't know too much about them, podcast 103, I want to say, was the one we did with them. But till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And I'm Cisco Garcia.
And we'll see you next time.